Hey, 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 it's Mark here. Welcome to another episode of Talking Joe. Today we will be talking to Paul Ference about his amazing collection of original G.I. Joe art. This show was originally recorded as a YouTube live stream, so you can find the video as well as the audio over on YouTube. But if you just want to listen to the audio, please go ahead. That's what this is for. You can head on over to patreon.com/talkingjoe and you'll find a post there which also has a PDF of all of the original art that we're talking about. I think that's everything, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Sketchbook, here's my sketchbook. I can show it to you if you wanna have a look. Sketchbook, here's my sketchbook. And now I will stop this song.
And hey, we are here live, coming at you. I am Mark, and as that indicates, it is another sketchbook special, and we're looking at the original art collection of Paul Ference today. So very exciting. We are streaming this live. So if you are watching live, you can join in by sending us your comments. So you can type in on the Facebook group or on the YouTubes, just like Sergeant Slaughterhouse. Sergeant Slaughterhouse has indeed. So welcome back. Good to have you on board again. But it's not all about me. We are joined by a special guest. And if you've joined the show before, you know that if you're a special guest, you get a jingle. Our next guest is no exception. He's not seen this before. So here we go. Paul Ference is here, 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 Paul Ference is here. Have you ever had a theme tune before?
No, I love it.
Everyone needs one.
Me with my grill. That's great.
Indeed. So yeah, as the jingle indicated, you are here, and am I close to approximating the pronunciation of your surname? How would you say it?
It rhymes with parents, so Ference. So
excellent.
It's been said a whole bunch of ways. So
excellent.
Ferency.
Oh no, Ferency. That's hard on the ending.
Yeah, I mean I just say it rhymes with parents, and then people get it. So.
And we've got another chap who is waiting in the wings. Give us a thumbs up if you're ready, or shake your head rapidly if you're not. That looks like a thumbs up. So here we go. It's the man himself. J.
Making his long-awaited return to the live stream. It's Jay Gray. How you doing, Mark?
Good. Nice to have you.
Good. You had to get your laptop booted with the Windows updates?
Oh, geez. I never use it except when I'm doing this.
Right.
So if I was smart, I would start like a couple hours beforehand and get everything up to date. But
mine's waiting to be rebooted. I scheduled
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That. My computer was sort of trying to open things today, and it was all going a bit slowly, and I was going, not what I need. But Paul, there's something very tantalizing there in your background of your screen. So
sure.
I think it's only fair to give us a bit of a tour. What's going on in your room?
Okay, so basically what I did was I started collecting mocks, starting like with the 82s up there. I only have a couple 82s, and then moving down to 83s. And I have the loose figures for each one too.
Oh, look at all those snow serpents.
Oh yeah, I started army building too, but I did it a few years ago when they weren't as expensive. As you know, now everything's like skyrocketed through the roof.
Yeah, for sure.
Some Storm Shadows and some army builders of Crimson Guards.
It looks like you've got about 1 million eels And
I
is
do,
that
I do, yeah.
Televipers on the
So yeah, I
Televiper on the
have.
right?
Yeah, here there's a
Holy cow!
20. What do I have? 24. You know what? These are nothing compared to some of the guys out there on the other forums groups. Some of them have 75 of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, 24
I
bats, a bunch of vipers.
I always thought I was doing good if I could get 4. That was my definition of
Yeah,
army
I don't know. I
building.
just kind of kept buying them a few years ago, and they were still somewhat
Clearly.
affordable. It's hard to.
Yeah, there's a wolf pack up there as well, by the looks of things. On
Yep,
just
I got
above
like
the bats.
5 of them. Yeah.
A what now?
I got the European stuff up here. The
oh my gosh!
Oh, there's the Tiger Forces and things. I can see
and right in the middle
Tiger
there is that
Force
rare
Blizzard hit and run.
got the rare Crimson Guard Immortal from Europe. It has a rock viper head. It's like super rare. There aren't too many of them out there. Maybe 12, 15 maybe at most.
Oh, really?
3 original Storm Shadows over there. How many wolves are there? Jeez.
Just 5.
Just 5.
I know a guy that
That's
has
what
like
you were talking
50.
about, eh, Mark?
I know a guy that has 50 snake eyes. So, and then I got like some of the higher stuff here. You got
50, all of the same version.
Yes, Night Force shelf up here.
Wow, dude.
Tiger
I've got one shelf and one bookshelf. That you can see.
I've got a shoebox.
I got some other Brazilian and Argentina and
get that one package back there.
That's quite the strip you've got there for the
Fun
Brazilian.
School. Yep.
Wow.
Now, is that cabinet that we're looking at right there? Is that all like international stuff?
Yes, that shelf is international, not the cabinet.
Just that shelf.
Yeah, the lower shelf has some like newer stuff, and then down here you've got like the convention stuff.
See, there's stuff that I've never even seen before, like that black and red. What is that, a Mobat?
Oh, that's the Crimson Crimson Tank. So yeah, like the Crimson Guard ride in it, and it was I think it was a Sears.
When they go out to battle.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think it was a Sears exclusive or something like that. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. And then I've got the Scrambler, the APC, and then the.
See, I've never seen that one on the right.
Yeah, that's the Action Force. UK
that's the Action Force one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one for sure. I've had that.
I also
before.
have a Brazilian one. It looks identical to the middle one, except it has Brazilian stickers on it. So.
And there's another Storm Shadow lurking over there. That makes at least 4 Storm Shadows.
Well, that's the later.
There's another
comic pack.
That's the international one.
So. Oh, up here, yeah, that's There's 2 Plastorama Argentinas. They're different. One has like peach arms. The other one has like pink arms. And then there's a Brazilian one behind it. So.
Wow, man, that's quite a collection.
Are there still some grails that you've got your eye out for that you've not got in the collection?
There's always grails. There's a lot of foreign figures that I'm still looking for. The Fun School India ones they're hard to find. They're also very expensive, so it takes time to hunt them down. I do have one really big grail that everybody knows about. It's like this. It's the best in the world. It's a 95 graded Snake Eyes.
Wow.
First release. All 95s. This is just the most perfect figure in the world. So that would
probably be my holy grail. For me, that's probably
this is the holy grail figure.
Yeah.
And then I got my holy grail art page last year.
What was it? Are we going to take a look at that?
We're going to talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool. Now, Paul's going to take the camera and go in the next room and be like, "Yeah, here's my USS flag collection." There'll be like 6 flags.
No,
4 in boxes.
In the basement, I have a flag set up with like 2 Sky Strikers and the Tomahawk on it and Conquest. Wow. Terradrome down there. And, my kids can play with it if they want. And
I need to get my Terradrome out.
They know not to break it.
Together.
Yeah. So what are the boundaries of the collection? So you're starting, I guess, at the 82 stuff, but
right. So
where do you end?
So I have all the 82 straight arms. I have like some of the variants. I've got every 83 figure, every 84.
And those are all mint on card.
Well, I don't have them all mint on card. I have all the loose.
Okay.
Now I have most of 83 except for the 1.5 versions, which are you know the re-releases. I think I have every 84 except maybe Roadblock. Problem with Roadblock is the O-rings are always broke on them when you find them. So I just haven't bought one. I'm like, I don't want to buy one with a broken O-ring. Or I had bought one once. It was shipped, and it broke in the O-ring in the package. So I sent it back to eBay.
There's a joke in there somewhere about Roadblock's cooking. I can't
yeah.
put it together yet, but I know there's a joke there.
85s, I think I have every 85. I think I'm missing Lady J mint on card. 86, I'm pretty close to being done with those. And then I kind of stopped because I stopped collecting around 87. I did get some 87 mint on cards, the ones I had like Shockwave and Jinx, and I did start getting into Marauders mint on card and Tiger Force. But I don't really have like a goal. And like I know I have certain ones I still need. Like I'm missing 2 of the Marauders mint on card, and I'm missing I think 4 of the Tiger Force US mint on card. And then I'm missing a Tiger Force Blizzard European and mint on card, and the Mutt, Euro Mutt, which is like a Night Force version. And that's pretty much, I picked up a Special Missions Brazil AFA 85. That was like a grail this year.
Now, did you have a lot of
Slaughterhouse says,
why not just like when you were when you were a kid and you like when did you stop? Like when did you start keeping the packages, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. When did that move from being a kid and just playing with a bunch of toys to
actually that didn't happen. So that never happened. I had let's start off. I started collecting, I was like 1982, and I was 7 in 1982. Yeah. My first recollection is I remember getting like Snake Eyes, Straight Arm 82, I think Grunt, Flash, I remember. They remember because of the red on him.
Yeah.
I got the APC, and I think, and Stalker. I do remember Stalker. So I think I had like 4 figures in the APC, and I think I probably broke them all because I was 7 and broke their arms and stuff. Because I don't remember having them when we moved. We moved when I was to another house when I was 10. So that was like 3 years later, and I would get a little bit here and there for Christmas figures and that. But what really took off is when I started with a paper route when I was 10. And when you're 10 years old and you have a paper route and you can make like $60, $70 a week and you don't have any bills, I would just go to Toys R Us and I would just arm swipe every figure, every vehicle. Unfortunately, they didn't sometimes have the vehicles that at every store. And I couldn't really afford I didn't have any room for the flag, so I never had the flag. But I did have almost every other 83, 84, 85 vehicles. So I think at one point I had every 84 figure, every 85, every 86, and started 87. And then I started getting into, grade, 8th grade and then high school. And I lost all my figures, either got sold in garage sales or my younger brothers broke them. Or I do remember blowing some up because, it's what you do when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And so I actually had no G.I. Joes from my childhood. I did have my comics, and I had 1 through 100 of the comics, and I kind of stopped right at 100 buying the comics right around high school. I actually bought, with my paper out money, a collection of 1 through 50 from one of my friends. It wasn't in the greatest shape, but he had 1 through 50. And I was like, every time I had seen the collection, I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I ended up giving him like, I think $50 at the time for all 50.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were readers and beaters, but I had them. And
that's the way mine are. I shudder to think what mine look like. I haven't looked at them for so long.
Yeah. Well, back then, number 2 was like a $25 book in 1985. So that's crazy. Yeah. Like I couldn't afford that. So I had comics in my collection. I did a lot of moving around, but the comics stayed with me. The only thing I kept with me was my 3 long boxes of comics, like G.I. Joes. I had a bunch of stuff from like the late 80s, 86, 80, or 87, 88. Gru. I'm a huge Gru Sergio fan. I had some runs of Batman and and Avengers from those years, and I just kept them all with me where I moved. And I had some sports cards, but like one binder, and they really weren't anything. And then so that kind of was how it was. I kind of fell out of G.I. Joe from 88, 89 all the way to, I think it was around 2000. I popped into like a comic store while on vacation, and they had some like Joes, and I grabbed like 3 or 4 of them. They were all complete. I think it was Mainframe, Wetsuit, and who was it? There was one more. Anyway, I was like, oh man, these are cool. I had these, so I picked those 3 up, and I was like, sweet. So I kept them in my, and I started collecting after that. That's when I started getting back into collecting comics. I started out with comics. I was actually buying graded G.I. Joe comics, and I was getting them a lot way cheaper than they are now. I mean, I was getting back when CGC was just starting. It was like, you could get a 9.8 issue for like $20, and number 1 I think was like $100 only. So I still have those. I have the 9/8 of 1. I have like 1 through 20 in 9/8, and I have some 9/6s and 9/8s after that. I don't have the full run. I never really wanted to buy the full run. I still have my 1 through 100 raw, to read and everything. I never really got into the later issues though. The 101 through 155. I did have the 155 and special. But that's just because they were collectible and cool covers and everything. But I'm really into the art. The art is where my focus is. Unfortunately, I'm not a big reader. My wife and daughter read books like 5, 6 a week books, but I do enjoy the series and I'll read it, but the art is where all my focus is and collecting.
Yeah. So what was the leap then into the art?
So early 2000s, I started, as I was buying the comics, it was a group I belonged to, CGC forums, and there was an art group there, and I didn't even know about art, like that they made these things. And so I started researching. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And I remember like going on eBay, and my first piece I bought was the back cover to a Gru comic. It was the Referto. It was a silent back cover art piece, and I think I paid like $200 for it back in 2003, I think it was. So that was like my first art piece. And then shortly after that, I found that the G.I. Joe image came out, the Devil's Due, and I found that first page that I had. It was G.I. Joe 18, page 7. The art was amazing on it, where Snake Eyes is coming off, and he does like the superhero pose at the end with his swords, and I'm like,
we can get into it if you want.
Yeah, and that got me hooked on the art, and from there, I would just slowly pick up pages as I could find them affordably on eBay, and I started to go through. That superhero pose is amazing.
That's during the Cabal, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So this is Brandon Beddoe. Yep.
Nice.
And that was the very first Joe page that I picked up, and I picked.
How much did you say that was? How much did you say that was?
That page?
Yeah.
Oh, that one was only like I think it was like $75.
Wow, that's great.
2004, yeah. So it's 2004.
Right.
I've had people ask me to buy it. I'm like, no. I'm like, this is my first page, and just the fact that it's so amazing. I mean, how he's, doing that backflip with the swords, and how they bust in on the motorcycle, Scarlet and him, and it's just that is Snake Eyes. If they would have made the movie like that, I think more people would have enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Come on, when did you flip?
How much time do you have? We got to be quiet. Mark hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, my son loved it. He's 10. He loved it. He thought it was great, and
my kids liked it.
Story.
My kids liked it.
Yeah, and that's really what it's made for. Is those kids to extend the, extend the run, extend interest in G.I. Joe. That's why the classifieds are out. They're not for us.
I hope that they still do that animated series they were talking about.
Yes,
I know that the box office returns weren't what they wanted, but I think that what they need most is animation. I mean, that's what hooked all of us.
Yes. Yeah, I watched the comic or the TV show religiously It didn't matter if they were reruns. They were
Oh,
on
yeah.
after school. I would come home.
You
and
came
I'd
home,
watch
it was on.
Yep. That's what I did. Watch Transformers and that. So yeah, this was my first page, and it's I don't think I could ever sell it just because it's just such an amazing page. And
See, I think if I bought original art stuff, I'd never sell it. I mean, I have sold a couple here and there, and some things that I just fell out of. I've had it a long time, and it's not something that's I'm married to. So, and I knew the other guy really wanted it for his collection. So yeah, there's that. My first page. I don't know if there's anything else. I love being able to look at, especially.
Hello, it's me, Tim Finn, like Mark probably just said. Sorry I couldn't join you live. Both to our viewers and fans, and also to Paul. Paul, thank you for sharing. All right, so this Brandon Badeau page from G.I. Joe 18 from the Devil's Due run. Oh, there's my favorite motorcycle. The inking here is particular in that the characters have spotted black and the backgrounds don't. Now, the two bad guys in the first panel, when I say spotted black or spotted blacks or spotting of blacks, I don't mean that their jackets are inked solidly black. What I mean is the little bit of black on the right side of the guy, all the way on the top left of the first panel, the guy with glasses, that there's inking on the side of his head and a little bit under his head where his neck is to create shadow. And, like an artist like Scott Collins, right, who's drawn a lot of Flash comics for DC, he does not spot blacks, right? He just draws with a clear line style. So note Snake Eyes in panel 3 here, right? There's some highlights on the tops of his legs and then the bottoms of his legs and his shin coming down. Those are left white, right? So similarly, the Humvee, right, part of the background in the first panel, it does have a cast shadow, but there's no inking on the side or the front to show that it is metallic or that there's a light source or that there's texture. Whereas, this guy all the way on the bottom left of the page, this guy running at us, there's a little cross around his neck in the bottom of panel 2. There's not heavy spotting of blacks at all, but there's a little bit under his collar and in the creases of his shirt. So just as a piece of art, right, separate from storytelling, how it's going to get colored, right, that Snake Eyes is doing something cool. Just as a piece of art, there's a particular treatment here of inking that is different for foreground characters and background elements.
The sketchbook stuff is fun, but to see pages.
Published pages.
That's what I like. I have a lot of artist editions which reproduce the original artwork, so that's really what I like to see is the.
And so, did you get into the Devil's Due book as well? You were reading
I did buy the Devil's Due book. I didn't finish it. I think I had like 1 through 30. It was more of a collecting thing. I did enjoy it, but then I had kids in 2005. So that's where I kind of
everything changed.
I stopped buying comics. I would still buy art occasionally if I saw it, but I didn't have a whole lot of time. So, from 2005 to 2011 is when my 3 kids were born. To finish up where I got, so then my collection consisted of, probably 10 to 15 G.I. Joe published pages over the course of that 10 years. Wow. And a lot of Gru pages. I was picking up published Gru art, Sergio's Gru. Still didn't have any figures and toys, and that was like the last of the thing. So in 2018, I don't know what made me get into it, but I do know what happened is my 401k was in a transition where I couldn't put any money into it that year. So the money I had in the 401k that I would put in that year, I started to invest in this. So I started buying Minton card figures. And I was glad I did it when I did it, because that was the lowest point in the last 3 years.
Yeah, good investment.
Some of these figures I paid $300 for a 9.8, and they're worth like $1,200 to $1,500 now.
Yeah.
So, and they're every single one of these figures has either doubled or tripled since I bought them. So most of them I bought in 2018, 2019. And then, there's a handful I would buy each year, but I slowly started just buying them loose. I would buy lots. I would take the best out and I'd sell the other ones on the Facebook groups. So I was constantly bringing in and selling. And I did a lot of that in 2018, 2019, just building a collection by buying lots on eBay, making the figures the best by, I would take the parts and make the best figure possible for my collection, and then sell off the doubles. And that's how I did all the loose stuff. And then the mint on card stuff I did, I would never overpay. I did a lot of research. I went back and looked at the historical of like the last 3 years before I started buying them to try to figure out, okay, this is a good price point to buy at. Now it's impossible if you're getting in, because people are listing the things at like crazy amounts, hoping somebody buys it, but they just sit there,
Sit there, yeah. There was a question earlier.
Yeah.
Why not change? Oh, sorry, that was the different one. Why not change the O-ring? I guess because if you do that, you open up the packet and it's no longer mint on card. There must be a massive difference in the premium between a genuine mint on card and a resealed.
Yeah, reseals are not. I mean, you got the loose figure, like reseals or repros are just slightly more than a loose figure. People do buy them, but they sit out there a lot. Nobody really buys them. Like most collectors don't buy a reseal or a repro. Some do, and then from there,
like, why would you?
I know. I guess.
And yeah, he points out the issue with mints on card. Eventually, all of them will have broken O-rings. Is there a science as to what the time span is likely to be on some of these things?
Right, and it's
ticking time bomb, right?
And that, I mean, paper's not going to last forever either. So there's a chance the O-rings will outlive me, and so which is fine. If they go, they go.
The figure's still going to be there, just rattle around in the box.
Right, and some of them though stay together. There's not
hold together. Yeah.
See, the very first, when I was a kid, I remember this. When the second wave came out, I bought Airborne, and I just thought he was so awesome. And he looked great in a package. And we got like halfway home, and I opened him, and when I opened it, he just fell in pieces.
Wow.
The O-ring, I was like, I didn't know whether it was broken. I didn't understand. That was my very first one. And I got home, and I was like showing my dad, and he looked and he said, well, there's a little screw in back here. Let's try this. And it was just the O-ring had slipped off. It was able to be fixed. But that was the first time that I figured out that you can take these things apart. And once you realize that, and you know how easy it is,
game changer,
man, that made the toy line that much more fun.
Well, I didn't figure that out.
Oh, this one's broken. Well, I can fix it by swapping this out. I don't like this guy's pants. Well, I'm going to give him different pants.
Yeah, then there becomes the kit bash. Which I love. I didn't know they opened until 2018. That's how sad it is.
Wow.
I never had a broken O-ring. I had Storm Shadow with loose legs.
I did.
Loose legs, and I just figured out it's just the way
that one I still haven't figured out. Loose joints.
The hardest is a Zartan or Xandar, where the body is molded together.
Sealed.
Yeah, so you got to loosen up you put them in hot water, loosen up the rubber, and then you can just take pliers and pop it open. And I've only maybe broke one Zartan torso out of doing it out of 12, I think. So, and that's because I didn't sew it. I just stuck the pliers in and went, and it kind of.
That's practice. 12.
Yeah, you get good at it.
I never had that. Yeah,
thousands of O-rings in the last 3 years.
So let me skip back on these slides, because actually my holding picture there was one that we weren't going to talk about, which was the Mike Zeck Firefly, but I just think it's chef's kiss, magnificent, one of the best renderings of Firefly that there is, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's
and you just
amazing.
Fill us in on what this is all about.
Yeah,
did you get that from him at a convention?
Nope. The guy that I bought it from did. And I bought it from him off of eBay, I think. The guy that originally bought it from Mike. And it's been in my collection. It was one of my earlier purchases in the probably mid 2000s. And I've had multiple people ask to buy this. So it's just,
Yeah, I would imagine.
Look at those hands. I am so stealing that.
It's one I don't think yeah, go for it.
It's so hard to draw. You don't think about it, but to draw a hand, and especially that left hand holding the barrel of a gun or something, that's such a hard
such a hard way to put those fingers in there, and Zach makes it look effortless.
Effortless, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the history on that one.
That's
really,
a great piece.
Not much history to it. It's just pencil on I think it's a thicker Bristol board. I don't think it's paper.
I wonder how long it took him to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the provenance on it, but it's. I do know
it take an effort.
Yeah, I have not seen anything like it in Zach. So, Firefly.
Great.
So
okay, should we skip on to the next piece and tell us about that? So here we go.
Okay.
The first cover of the bunch.
You own that.
Yeah, so this is the first cover I acquired, and the story is, so, this all goes to Howie Welsh, the collector, the art collector that Chuck talked about a little bit. How Howie had a collection, and that's how I acquired most of my collection recently, was from Howie's estate, I guess. But Howie was a big art collector of G.I. Joe, and him and I were competing on different Marvel pages in the early 2000s, and I had won a couple, he had won a couple, and his goal was to collect one page from every issue if he could, and that was a huge goal, but he was getting there. He had one from several, like 11 through 30 or 40. He had one of every, and except 21, because we know that's all together. So he needed a page for me that he didn't have an issue 17 page, and we ended up trading. I had like two of them in a lot. I had one, and I traded him one for two other pages that he had, and that's how we first kind of met each other, over the internet, just trading. Then he came to me and approached me and said, "Hey, I've got this cover. Do you want to buy it?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I bought it from him. I bought the prelims. I have all three prelims for it, which are awesome, because if you see them, they're on my site. You see the rough, thought process of how he designs it. And this is the epitome of my collecting niche, is Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. I mean, they're everybody's favorite, but they are my favorite. I mean, it's, just look at it. That's like the perfect cover. I mean, the guys coming in, just the muscle.
There's only so many covers, sort of bona fide cover A's by tier A artists that feature Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow together.
I'm not a huge fan of the finishes on Snake Eyes, but man, just scroll back up to Storm Shadow. Everything about that Storm Shadow is awesome. Look at how he's got the shadows coming from his feet, and it bends at the ceiling. And then for the tips of the swords, that's so nice. Yep, yeah, that's really, really cool. When the colored version of this, and we talked about it on the show, the colored version, just, you lose almost all of that. It's there, you can see it, but it's just,
you do.
Those walls and stuff are just so muddy looking.
Yeah, the walls are too dark. They take away from the shadows. And,
yeah,
it's the cover. The art is much better than the cover, which isn't always the case. Sometimes the colored art is a lot better, but
I always like seeing the original artwork.
Yeah, and the prelim process as well. So this was G.I. Joe issue 9. We talked about this on the show a little while ago, because we've been doing a read through of the Devil's Due era. And while we were doing the discussion, Tim actually, coincidentally enough, went to Comic Art Fans, got your piece, and then started doing his own colors attempt over the over the
during the show. He was doing this
during the show. So I think by the end of the show, this was pretty much where he'd got to.
Yeah, see, so you can see the shadows better there.
Yeah,
so it's playing a lot more with the light source, the dark, the sort of the dark and the light, and having just the light coming in from the rear, rather than that kind of invisible light source that it
actually looks a lot brighter. You can follow it a lot better.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. And when you shared this piece, I thought it'd be fun to just share Tim's version.
We've shared it on the other videos too. So
Yeah.
We talked a lot about this cover on an earlier episode of Talking Joe. So it's traditional in that the top third is left devoid of anything important because the logo is going to go there. The inking is different here for the two characters, right? So Storm Shadow is inked only with a cast shadow, right? There are very small indications of highlights on his fingers, right? Left white and then shadow, and very, very subtly on his shoulder pads. But the color is going to do all the work here in terms of showing the highlight, the midtone, and the shadows on Storm Shadow, whereas on Snake Eyes, he's inked differently. Part of this is because he's bigger and closer, so I think Zek wants to make him prominent and show him off, but also because Snake Eyes as a character in all black, right? Think of Superman's hair traditionally in licensing art, right? Like underoos and t-shirts and lunchboxes in the 1970s and 80s. Like Superman's hair is blue, right? Because once you've inked some of his hair black, you can't color in the highlights black because then it just reads like a solid mass of black. So Snake Eyes here is getting inked where the black for the shadows is sort of turned all the way up, whereas it wasn't turned up at all on Storm Shadow. And then the colorist is going to choose, a dark blue, a dark gray, for that sort of middle tone on Snake Eyes to create the sense that it's a character all in black, even if technically when we look at the printed cover, it's not black, right? It's not like, this right here. It's exciting, this cover, because as many covers as Zek drew for G.I. Joe, he only had Snake Eyes on maybe 3 of them. And, in one of them, it's just sort of mid-chest and up. So we don't often see Zek sort of show off Snake Eyes as this cool character in a cool pose or in a pose with all this potential, like this scene, this tension, this drama here, right? This cover is about what's about to happen, as opposed to the cover of, is it 41, where Snake Eyes and Ripcord and Roadblock and Gung Ho are sort of under attack, and the background is a brownish, right? That cover is all about action and sort of desperation. This cover is all about, look out.
Cool.
That's awesome.
All right, what's up next? Wow.
Okay,
here
we go. So this
it's issue 1.
This is issue 1. Yep. This was from the Howie Welsh collection. So what happened was Howie and I, did a trade. I bought the cover from him. We'd email back and forth when there was pieces coming up on eBay. Hey, are you going for this one? If you are, I'll lay back. I won't bid on them, and I'll say no. I'm not going to bid on that either. I don't know how he acquired some of his. It was always not. He did so much acquiring off of eBay and various sources, but Howie kind of Chuck touched on this. Howie kind of disappeared, and I tried to reach out to him because I wanted to buy some art from him. I knew he had these, a great collection, and I had some money, and I wanted to get some more pages. So I tried emailing him, and you just got nothing back. And you checked Comic Art Fans, and he hadn't updated anything in like 3 years or whatever. This was back in 2000, I think 18, and so 17 or 18. So what I did was I Googled his name, just trying to find him somehow, and I stumbled on his obituary.
Oh, crumbs.
And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I couldn't believe he died. I'm like, and he was only like 42 or at the time, and he's like almost the same age as me. I think I think we're the same age. And said something about, a heart, but they didn't say it like a heart attack, but they just said his heart. You can read the obituary on my Comic Art Fans. I have a link to it because I have this, paragraph devoted to Howie. And his collection broken up. So the ones I kept and acquired. And I reached out through Facebook a year later after he had passed to his brother, try to make, contact with him and saying, hey, I'm I'm sorry to hear about your brother. I know you had some of this artwork, and I don't know if is there anything you did with it? I try not to make it sound like, hey, I'm trying to get this all from him. I was, really condolences, and really was shocked and sad that he had passed. And I don't think the guy really followed Facebook much, so nothing happened. He never, even replied back. So then I waited another year, and for some reason I decided, I'm going to try to reach out to the guy's wife. So that would be Howie's sister-in-law. And I contacted her on Facebook, and she contacted me back. She said, "Yeah, I was just getting ready to sell a lot of his stuff, take it to places." And I'm like, "Well, here, hold on. I'm gonna, I'll if you're selling the art, I will try. I'll make you an offer on the whole collection." And we went back and forth. I don't think they realized what they had. I tried to give them a fair price. And back 3 years ago when I acquired it, prices weren't like they were now. So
yeah, skyrocketed since.
Yeah, I think I gave them, and you're buying an entire lot. You're never buying it at 100%. So, I gave her probably, back then, probably about a 25% of what I could sell the stuff for. But I wasn't going to sell the stuff right away, and you can't sell it right away. One, I wasn't going to sell most of it. But two, you can't just flood the market, or you're going to get, you're not going to get top value for your art. Yeah. And so had they gone and, dumped it at an auction house, they would have lost fees. They would have lost, I tried to make them an offer, and they were happy with the offer. I feel like I got a lot more art than I offered, but it's just the way it is. I do believe in good karma. I didn't really want to, steal the stuff from them. And I really couldn't afford much more than what I offered them at the time. True. They were happy. I was happy. And,
that's what matters.
That's what happened. Yeah. And I gave them the tribute, and I've sold some of the weaker pages that I didn't really want in my collection. Some of the later issues in the 80s, 70s numbers, and the later 100 issues. I've sold, probably about 15 to 20 of the pages. And he had about 120 pieces in his collection.
Wow.
He had about 100 published pages, and then he had some various other things, and a lot of these are in here. Like so this, he had 2 pages of number 1. I took the best of the 2, and this is it, because it has the whole team in that bottom middle panel, or most of the team. Yeah. It has the 5 of them, and it has Scarlet and Snake Eyes on
up the top. Yeah,
Baroness and Cobra Commander's leg. So
yeah, Cobra Commander's leg.
To me, it's
I have a couple questions about this piece.
Yeah,
Paul. Yeah. When we were looking at it pulled back like this the first time, I was trying to figure out if the texture in panels 1, would it be 1, 5, and 6, if that was Zipatone or not. But it isn't it? I see in number 1 that's all hand drawn, the texture on that floor.
There is
and
some
then
Zipatone.
The back behind Snake Eyes and Scarlet, is that like put in with, do you think that's Zipatone, or is that stippled?
I think the only Zipatone is Scarlet's helmet in the top right panel.
Okay, yeah.
That's Zipatone.
Yeah, you got...
I could dig it out, but I think that's the only Zipatone on this one that I remember.
Yeah, it looks like there might be paste up Zipatone here.
Yeah, I wonder
if this here on the Scarlets, because it looks a little bit brown,
yes,
whether it's that paper that is like treated, and you sort of treat it, and then the sort of the color comes out.
It's weird, yeah. And what about panel 3 there? That wall, is that textured too? I mean, not that it matters.
That looks like it's this whatever they used on Scarlet's helmet. It looks like it's the same,
kind of the same thing.
Yeah,
I would like to see, now that we look at this page, I don't know that I've ever really seen art from number 1 or any of the Trimpy stuff in black and white. And I think that I don't know, just looking at it a lot, I'm able to appreciate it more, I think, in black and white.
I will take a quick look here. A gander. I don't have it all on the wall because
yeah, that's what that looks like.
You don't have enough wool for a start.
Yeah, serious.
That's true. But I also I have it. Okay, so yeah. So here it is.
There's a lot going on in that page.
Let me put
it.
But
yeah, there is more. Okay, so
I'm losing my mouse.
This is like this looks like a stat of.
Here we go.
Okay, hold on. This is like.
Oh, wow. So that's something too.
This is like a paste. It's like a paste on stag.
I thought when we looked at it that
Okay.
was like hand drawn. At first, I thought it was something that was, like you said, pasted on or
This is a
textured.
yeah. This looks like a paste on.
So that would have been originally hand drawn, but then pasted on.
Yeah.
Covering up whatever was there originally.
I don't think it's art. I don't think it's original art.
It's hard. Yeah,
it looks
probably
like
not.
a stat. This looks like a stat. The floor.
Mm-hmm.
The second panel is all art. The third panel is okay. The wall is Zipatone. The stairs are all art, but the wall is all Zipatone. The top part
is slightly raised, is it? When you rub your finger, it's a different layer.
I can tell it's Zipatone. But the stairs are all original art, which is cool. And it's like
now for Zipatone, don't you have to buy like a certain kind of paper to use that on? Like, it doesn't the paper itself cost like $10 a page, or used to? I've never used it.
See, this piece right here is actually loose. I gotta. I have paste. The correct kind of paste.
Put that up, man.
Yeah. I have the correct kind of paste for this stuff. I do fix them occasionally, but so her helmet actually. The only Zipatone.
I'm nervous just watching him hold this page.
Right here is the only Zipatone. Is the edging of the helmet.
Huh.
But it looks like there may have been some up here that fell off at one point. So there's art behind it, and it fell off the top of her helmet right here.
Yeah, we're talking a 40-year-old piece of paper there.
Okay, so then this wall is like a stat behind it.
Okay.
And then that's all art. And then the bottom three panels are all art.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's definitely.
It's amazing how much work just went into that page right there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on that page. How many panels are on there? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Yeah. Good grief.
9.
And story-wise, there's a lot happening in that.
Oh, and
it's all able to follow it. Yeah,
most
perfectly.
of it's silent. It's the whole top.
Well,
the panels is a silent issue, which is amazing. You know, it's like the first. You know, they could always
precursor to 21
with the silent parts. You know.
A page from G.I. Joe issue 1. When I see pages from older comics, I'm often reminded just how more stretched out the stories and the artwork is in new comics. There are 9 panels on this page, right? A lot of modern comics wouldn't have 9 panels on a page, and there's so much story that's told here. Characters traversing space and sneaking, and then we cut back to other characters. The camera is low. The camera is like 8 inches off the ground in the final panel, right? The camera is placed just on the ground, looking past the commander's legs. So we're actually looking, slightly up at Baroness, right? The camera's not sort of at shoulder height behind Cobra Commander's shoulder. Mark probably just said this, but the Zipatone in panels 3 and 5 has yellowed with age, which happens. That actually doesn't make me sad. It just is an artifact of this 40-year-old object. This is sort of a particular G.I. Joe page because it has Snake Eyes doing a Snake Eyes thing, which is to say a couple wordless panels of character pantomime or action choreography, right? Going downstairs, going around a corner, and pointing, right? Snake Eyes famously, of course, doesn't speak, but he also tends not to communicate in G.I. Joe comics, right? He just, his actions speak louder than words. Sometimes he points, sometimes Scarlet sort of translates for him. And here I find that 5th panel really fun. And I love the variety of camera angles, right? Looking down, looking straight, looking up, looking down, looking slightly up across the first 5 panels. I love the sense of foreground, middle ground, background in that middle panel. Snake Eyes and Scarlet very close to us, and then this wall, and then two characters in the background and then computer stuff behind them. Right? There's this base. There's the forest. It's great.
Cool. So that was going in big with number one. What
Starting off strong.
Yeah,
Go
I like to go in
next.
order too. So
Here we go.
Oh, I always like
We're
that one.
still on
too.
number one. This is the back cover featuring the
Yep,
Mobat
the
tank
Mobat.
and Steeler.
Yep, and Steeler. Now this was also part of the collection. He also had the inside front cover and the back side front cover, which is the HAL and the Vamp
Yeah.
with Clutch and who's the other one? Clutch is
Grand Slam.
Grand Slam, yeah, Grand Slam. So I just picked the Mobat because it's the back cover and it's probably the coolest of the three. But his collection had the 2 pages of number one and the 3 covers: the interior, exterior, outside, back, inside and front, and inside back. And the original cover is out there. You can see it. I have a picture of it. I think it sold for around $100,000 a few years back. I'm sure it'd be a lot more now. But
The cover to number one.
yeah.
Wow.
There's a picture of it on one of the forums. The CGC forum site has a great
Art's
original
like
art.
I've seen it.
Okay, the original art, it's in there on one of those pages. And I took a copy of it just to have because it's sweet looking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And the
I'll have to
inside,
hunt that out.
in the very first splash page, sold on Heritage for like $17,000 about 10 years ago, maybe I think it was, to number one. So where's the rest? I don't know.
Scattered to the winds, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of a page here, page there. If what we
The
know.
interesting part about this page is, Herb did it, but the inker, I don't know who the inker is because McLeod said he didn't do these, even though he did the internals inking of number one. He didn't do these, so I don't know if
it
Herb
says
did all of it.
What's
It
that
says
say in
Jack.
the top right-hand corner?
Who was the?
Oh, Paul,
it was
you're digging your pages in.
Bob
Okay.
McLeod, wasn't it? Was he the inker of the interior?
He
for
was.
the first issue. But yeah, was
Yeah, it doesn't really
there
say.
a,
It just
'cause
says,
that looks like some pencil.
it's all pencil. Yeah. The
Check out again, Mark. How much detail is lost in the colored version on like Steeler's helmet? The whole visor just gets
it gets
washed
just
out.
muddied and lost, doesn't it? Yeah.
and you don't appreciate the darks, the inking of the tracks of the
Yeah.
tank.
Yeah.
When it's the color version, you don't even realize that that's inking.
Sort of
somebody-
goes-
That's what I said. I'd love to have an artist edition with. I was just crushed when they canceled that G.I. Joe artist edition.
Well,
Yeah.
did they not have all the pages?
You got me.
21 is the only one I know of that's complete, and that's in this one guy's collection.
It
All the
was supposed to
materials.
have like maybe 1 and 2, and I
Yeah, a
think
good chunk of 1 and 2.
26, something
I'm
like
sure
that.
they have photocopies of everything still, don't they? Or
I
maybe
don't,
not.
I don't know. I would hope so.
At least stats.
Yeah. I think the speculation is that maybe just there wasn't quite enough interest, but hard to
Probably, which is sad. I know they're not just going to make it for me.
The Steeler pinup. I'm struck by how different this looks without all of the type. Mark or Jay probably just said that. It's fun to see. I haven't really paid attention to the 3 small drawings of the Mobat in this pinup. Because as published, I'm very aware of the big drawing of the Mobat and then this head portrait of Steeler, and then all of the copy, all of the type. This is a fun reminder that the vehicles did get drawn by Trimpe in a style reminiscent of the blueprints that came with the toy, which is obvious and is in no way obscured. But I don't think it ever fully occurred to me that that's what I was looking at when I read my issue number 1.
Okay, what's up? What's up,
Man,
next?
shreds on that were awesome.
Okay,
Oh,
so here's an
amazing.
interesting story on this. So, and I got all this information from Howie, but basically there were, there's a story on these. There were 13 made, so 1 for each character. 7 of them ended up being published in either #1 or a couple issues later. Rock and Roll, which I also have, was published in the yearbook 1. But 6 of them never were published, and they were put into inventory. At the top, it says INV. So they were going to
yes,
issues, but they never did. And so the collection had 3 of them, and had Zap, Short Fuse, and who else did I have? Zap, Short Fuse, and Clutch, and then Rock and Roll. But Rock and Roll was a published one. So that's the story about these huge like splashes. You know, they're pinups, I guess. They're huge, and I just thought the backstory on these pages is so cool about how they were developed or not used or whatever. So
yeah, and then sort of never, see a few of them sort of seeing print in dribs and drabs after sort of all being prepared initially together, and a few of them kind of being real obscurities or not seeing print at all. I zoomed in on this piece with this general sort of lighting his cigar off the back blast.
Isn't that awesome?
Of Zap's bazooka. It's fantastic.
That's the epitome of the 80s, 84, G.I. Joe, 82.
Yeah, just a real playfulness in some of the stuff that they were doing initially. So that was cool to see. And you've got in your collection, you've got a few of these. How many? Yes. How many do you have in total?
4 total of these. Like I said, Rock and Roll, which was published in G.I. Joe Annual 1 or Yearbook 1. I'm sorry, and then Short Fuse, Zap, and Clutch.
Was this published in that Marvel Age?
It might have been.
Was Marvel Age. Yeah, this one was.
Okay. This one was.
I've never seen the artwork before, colored or otherwise.
Oh, this was in Marvel Age. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Did you find if any of the other ones were?
Or... I can grab it. Hold on a second.
Well, it sounds like they finally put it in somewhere.
Well, Marvel Age is not a new book.
No, but just, it came out much
than
82 and Yearbook 1.
It was only a handful of them in Marvel Age. Let's see. What's this one?
I'm trying to think if I have one Marvel Age with like the 87
guys.
Yeah,
so what have we got? This is short. I'll zoom in on myself so you can see it. There we go. So we've got Short Fuse and then Rock and Roll.
Yep.
And we've got there's the Zap and Steeler.
Okay. Does it say Short Fuse was in Marvel Age or?
It was Short Fuse is there.
Does it say what issue or?
That's the actual issue there, isn't it, Mark? That's
this is the actual issue. Yeah. So this is issue 15 of Marvel Age.
Okay,
so
and that has both Zap and Short Fuse in it?
Yeah. So that's the cover.
That issue up now.
Oh, for sure. If you've not got it already. Yeah, this is my custom bound.
I'm shocked, Paul. Shocked.
Well, you don't have that. Marvel Age is something that they sometimes didn't have at the store when you went, because they were kind of picked up because they had something of everything in it, not just G.I. Joe. So G.I. Joe was popular and did sell a lot, but issues that had like everything in it, like all the superheroes in that too, those flew off the shelf. So cool. I'm glad I know that. Now I can find that one. So that's the cover.
Yeah. Sweet. It's the one to have. Yeah, issue 15.
Sweet.
For the G.I. Joe.
Count on Super Sleuth Mark there to find your obscure issue that you need to track down. Then.
That's
and
awesome.
Now you know.
Yeah, I would like to see. Mark, have you done a video with that custom that you just had?
Oh, I've not done a video of this one actually. No, only.
What's
only
that? 1 through 50.
This is basically 1 through 20 in there within a whole lot of back matter. Yeah. Cool.
And what do you got on the cover for that one? Just real quick.
It's that J. Scott Campbell.
Oh, okay.
Issue 1 recreation.
Cool. Yep.
And on the back cover is one of my commissions by Mike Vosberg.
Oh, that looks like the X-Men.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's right.
Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past homage
Yeah.
with GI Joe characters and
That is
Cobra
sweet. Yeah.
Cobra baddies on the poster. But
And
yeah,
that's
that will be
one of a
that will be
kind book,
featured.
folks. One of a kind.
It sure is. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. When on a future sketchbook show, I'll share some of my my own commissions. So
Yeah,
Sergeant Slaughterhouse says that doesn't look like a very comfortable pose
for either of them.
Yeah. It's just hold that position. How many times does he has to fire that bazooka before he actually catches the light on it?
And General Flag's got kind of a Tyrannosaurus hand thing going on. It's a little out of
proportion.
proportion.
Oh yes,
yeah,
a little bit, hasn't he?
A little out of proportion, but we'll let it go.
I love the joke here that this cigar getting lit on this weapon. I don't have anything to add. This is just really fun. I'm guessing that though we don't think of pinups as being written, right? We think of an editor hiring an artist to draw an exciting full-page image of a character, which could maybe be a cover, but it's not going to be a cover, right? That's what we think of in comics when we think of pinups. But because this one has dialogue, right? This was written by Larry Hama, we assume. But also that sign on the right side under his helmet, police all brass, right? Trimpe was in the military, so this could be him, right? But I get the sense that when presumably Larry Hama wrote the script, wrote a little bit of dialogue for this pinup, he also, in describing the scene, included that sign.
Okay, we've got another doozy here.
The Pit.
Oh, I'd love to have one of those.
The Pit.
Yes, this is such. I remember this page when it came out.
Yeah,
it was.
Anytime they did a cutaway of the Pit or anything like that, where you get to see like the technical behind the scenes of this is the world they live in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you always wanted to be like stay at that place and work there.
And actually, in an upcoming issue, I think it's issue 287, probably the one with the newbies getting in, sort of coming back to the base for the first time and getting introduced. They've shared some preview art of them sort of coming down into the pit on an elevator, which must in partly be kind of having this original image in mind. I would have thought.
It's a basic page. There's not much to it, but the historicalness and
it's just neat to see all of I said, any of those kind of cutaway pages are neat things to see. Those are, I mean, again, that's something that made it memorable as a kid.
Exactly. I mean, it's not the most artistic page, but it's
I mean, there's nothing fancy about that. If they did it now, you'd have computers that would be there'd be all kinds of stuff, scaffolding in the background of all those panels, and throw everything at the wall.
Yeah, that's why I put this page in there. It has to be. So, Howie knew what he was doing when he was hunting all these pages down. He
for sure.
found some amazing pages. So I'm very honored to be able to get him from his collection and continue on his his dream. And if he's looking down, I hope he's proud. Because he did all the legwork to find these.
Now check out in this particular page. Okay, in the top panel there's the building.
Yep.
And there's what looks like maybe 10 inches of concrete, and then there's like or dirt, and then there's another kind of thing, and then there's like clearly what's supposed to be metal.
Yeah.
So they're showing all of the degrees of how fortified this bunker is.
Well, it has to hold up the Mobat, so it has to be strong.
Yeah. And there's like 6 howls it looks like in there. Go back up a little bit, Mark.
Oh, with the howls. Oh yeah, we've got a row of howls. Yeah.
2 vans
like
look like
3
Mobats.
3 turrets of a Mobat. Yeah.
2 Mobats. Yeah. 3 Mobats. Yeah.
So things are kind of in perspective within the panels.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be a hard page. It'd be hard to try to just design that, work everything in. And I'm sure that like just the little, it's working at such a small scale.
Yeah.
I was just looking up, trying to remember what kind kind of the name was of this effect where you've kind of got a single image and you've got the characters working their way through it, because we're transitioning. You're sort of following the US mail van as it kind
Tim
of
would know.
works its way through, and it's called it's a variation of the DeLuca effect, where the page is used like this, with the characters sort of working, sort of progressing through essentially a single static image. And yeah, fun example is always nice to see.
Page 5 of issue 3. What a great page, and what an unusual page. And I've pointed out several times in episodes of Talking Joe, an element, a line of dialogue, a scene, a page of G.I. Joe, which you'd only see in G.I. Joe. And I don't mean because it has Cobra or it has, particular G.I. Joe characters, but there's something about the workings of a G.I. Joe story. And this is one. In an Avengers X-Men comic, we might occasionally get, like a new X-Men showing the mansion, and then downstairs and the danger room and Cerebro to a new X-Man. What's so fun about this page is that two things. One, I can imagine that Joe fans or art collectors would not be interested in this page, right? It's a very early page, so of course people want it, but it's not an exciting drawing or image, right? This doesn't have a lot of wall power, to use a term from someone who has sold me art. If you frame this and put on your wall, I don't know that guests at your home would sort of stop and be blown away by it. They might sort of be intrigued by it. But because this is just all boxes, this is just all squares and rectangles, if I squint, this feels much more like a Chris Ware page. This feels like, was it issue 7 of David Aja's Hawkeye, where, sorry, anyway. So this page, even though it was drawn by Herb Trimpe, it sort of acts like an Elliot R. Brown page, right? Elliot R. Brown drew all the vehicle diagrams for G.I. Joe Order of Battle #4, right? We all think of Trimpe as doing all the pinups for Order of Battle, but those only the first 3 issues. And Elliot R. Brown sort of famously drew diagrams for Marvel Universe style pinups in various Marvel comics, of the Punisher's van and the Punisher's warehouse and the Avengers Quinjet. And I think he did do one diagram of the pit, but here we see it in action.
What have we got up next? This is an interesting one.
Yes, and this I didn't know about till someone posted on Comic Art Fans the historic, what was going on in this page. I had no idea what it was. I didn't even realize it was from that issue. So the guy says, if you want me to read this real quick, the two inked panels were published in G.I. Joe 7. The story published in G.I. Joe 6 and 7 was originally intended to be published as issues 3 and 4, which is why this page is labeled as being for issue 4. So if you look at the top, I think is where it...
Yeah, up here says issue 4.
Right. It was to feature a pre-existing creator-owned Russian team called the Pravda Patrol, created by Herb Trimpe and Tom DeFalco. After the first of the 2 issues were inked, it was decided to replace the Pravda Patrol with original characters that Hasbro would fully own and control. Trimpe then had to redraw many panels, replacing the Pravda Patrol with the all-new October Guard, and delaying the publication of the story by 3 months. That's the Pravda Patrol in the bottom panel of the page. There have been images of Xeroxes of the original art from issue 6 floating around on the internet since the 2000s, but this is the first time I've seen evidence that the second part of the story had been drawn before the decision was made to replace the Pravda Patrol. What an interesting and neat piece. So yeah, I mean, that's information that it's great how the hobby people will find, people that know things, help educate everybody by posting things like that. And I had no idea what that was. I never heard of the Pravda Patrol till now. And it's hard to read what they're posting at the bottom, typing in the bottom in pencil.
Yeah.
Even with it in front of me, But that's so cool how you have the that art there, and then they cross it out, so they're not going to use that, and then they use 2 panels.
Yeah, that they used 2 panels from it.
Yeah.
And so it's literally kind of these 2 panels up here.
Yeah.
That were on the previous page.
Yep.
Yeah, and here.
But they were supposed to be coming in a lot further.
Yeah, and then they've kind of recycled this the sort of this kind of buggy idea,
twisted it.
Yeah,
it appears here, and they've updated it from the Pravda Patrol look and using the updated October Guard designs, and they've also then inserted in the GI Joe vehicle. And here's an
yeah. Ooh,
I was going to say, here's another example of a page that was sort of radically transformed.
Yeah.
So this isn't from your collection.
That looks like it, though. That looks a lot like the one they were drawing.
Exactly. On the left is the original Pravda Patrol.
Oh.
And then on the right is how it saw print with the October Guard designs being swapped out. And it was all really about, I think, the IP that they.
Where did you find that on the left? Is it on the internet?
It's on the internet. There's a page which has got a lot of this detail. I think it's called something like the Secret History of the Pravda Patrol.
Okay, well that must
have been. Check Diane out. Her outfit and everything is completely different. It's not just their faces. At first, I thought it was just their faces were swapped out, but like that, the female character in the front has like a big heavy jacket on, and then in the published piece, she's got like a shirt.
Grainy. Yeah, look at the hat on the guy.
This is
helmets on some and
the hat there. So you can see it here on.
Just like
we
that.
Have to track this down.
The sort of prototype horror show. He's there with his sort of woolly top hat.
That guy would probably be a better horror show
when he finally appears.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I don't sacrilege. Yeah. Horror show is a classic.
He's kind of like John Goodman, though. The other guy looked more like Jaws from James Bond.
True.
I'm more afraid of Jaws from James Bond than I am John Goodman. No offense to John Goodman, great actor. But
the great thing I like about this hobby or like GI Joe is we're finding information out still after all these years. There's like
it's amazing. 40 years on, and stuff like this is still sort of coming out in dribs and drabs. Some of this sort of secret history of how this stuff came together. It's very interesting to see.
And there's Breaker always chewing that bubble gum.
Yeah.
Gonna be nice and dusty in the desert, ain't it?
Yeah, not a good look. Don't drive through a dust cloud with your bubble gum out. That's unnecessary. In the comments, we've got a hi there from Da Cloud, who is one of my children is watching from the other room. So hi to you.
Hi kids.
Hey kids. Let's see, what else have we got coming
now while Dad's occupied? Get into his toys.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Right.
What a piece of history this is, that we can see the process of Trimpe and then behind the scenes editorial, probably Tom DeFalco. That's who edited issue 1, right? And didn't Tom DeFalco write the Pravda Patrol story that Trimpe drew, and they own it? You guys probably just said this. I don't have anything to add. It's just really exciting to see the process, right? I'll say this: we're used to the process when it comes to animation art for GI Joe, model sheets for characters, storyboards, some pencil layout drawings, and then of course some animation cells. Certainly for toys, right? We've seen lots of toy development art, sketches, color studies, paintings. We don't see a lot of this for the comics because the sort of the ratio of what gets put into the sausage grinder and then what comes out as, I guess that's not a good analogy because everything you put in the sausage grinder becomes sausage. So that'd be a 1-to-1 ratio. With animation and with toys, there's a great deal of art that gets made, and then we see the final product. And with comics, there's a small amount of artwork, and just about that gets released as the comic. So as a piece of process and history, it's great to see this. And then, as I mentioned in a previous episode when we were looking at Trimpe pencils that hadn't been inked, it's also really great to see his lines, before they've been marked upon.
Here we go. It's issue 16.
Oh, love CoverGirl.
Mm-hmm.
The first appearance of CoverGirl.
The very first panel appearance.
And also Tripwire.
Yeah.
And Tripwire,
yeah.
She gets more of a show role than her,
Tripwire.
but she's the one that we're, even though, it's 80s style kind of.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Jay's big into CoverGirl as a character, aren't you? One of your first favorites.
I do like CoverGirl. I think she should be. I guess I shouldn't say she's underused because I think IDW used her a good bit. But just when you think of Joe, you think of Duke, Scarlet, Baroness, Lady J, Flint.
Yeah.
You got to go deep to think CoverGirl. CoverGirl's not going to be on a thermos.
Right.
And this page is quite interesting to look at because what you're seeing is the browning on the pages here, right?
Right.
And
so what
that's
happens,
yeah, a lot.
What happens
The
with a lot of
speech
these pages is the word
dropped
bubbles
off
that they
like
pasted
that.
on come off.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So there's art underneath. those
Wow,
word
they
bubbles.
fell off.
Yeah. And I think the word bubbles are added on after the fact.
Back then they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make them look like, the page or the stats on the cover.
Even like if you have like the Jim Lee artist edition, which was 90s, 91, 91, the X-Men one, you see on those original pages, all of the word balloons, they were still cutting and pasting them on, even at that time.
Yeah.
They hadn't gotten into doing it all digitally.
I do like the pages that have the inked on word bubbles better, obviously, because they don't disappear and they don't fall off from time.
But it's neat though to see
the art under it. Yeah.
What's under it? Yeah, because we've never seen that before.
Yeah, exactly. And on this one, here you can see on Tripwire, the size of that word balloon. It's actually chopping off the top bit of his head.
Yeah.
It's a big old intrusive word balloon. And
Tripwire, what a goofy character.
And I like what you find in
check rock and roll out.
I like what you find in the margins as well.
Yeah.
It says here judgment, and what that would be is this top word balloon where it says a dead letter stamp on your judgment, and you can see there's some whiteout over
They spelled
the
it wrong.
ment. So they probably spelt it wrong, and now they're correcting it with a bit of whiteout. It looks like they've changed probably what they wrote on that in the middle of that word balloon as well, where it says "put fire in your belly."
Yeah, see, check it out. All that stuff was done by hand.
Yeah. It's a talent, for sure. The letterers who are doing it, actually putting pen to paper and trying to create these precise letter forms to be reproduced on the comics. It's it's a real art form in itself. Yeah, I bet if you do have the page to hand, Paul, that you run your finger over it, you'll sort of find the sort of that those letters are slightly erased from the whiteout.
Oh yeah. And the page before that's also in the collection. It has the first appearance of the Wolverine itself. But CoverGirl is not in that page. Her word balloon is, so she's saying something in it, but it's only the Wolverine. And then the next page, you see her for the first time in that panel there, and you see Tripwire in the very behind the clouds there, or the dust, whatever that is. So, Howie was looking for the best pages from each issue too, I think, because first panel appearances are amazing. You just don't.
Yeah,
they're hard to find. They're one of a kind. Not only
get one of a kind,
but the panel is one of a kind.
Yeah, and it's got some great dialogue on this page. That introduction and the sort of the snippiness between CoverGirl and Scarlet, who's no longer the sole female on the team.
Catfight.
She says, "Well, I should certainly hope I'm more charming than a dead skunk." Right. Hammer's got a real ear for dialogue.
I'm always interested in whiteout when I see this word balloon in panel 2, right? It's the third word balloon of panel 2 because we can see that 2 have fallen off, right? Because rubber cement does not last 40 years. But put fire in your belly and then stamp and then the final word judgment. When I see that whiteout, I take a guess at what got fixed, and usually it's a letterer forgot a word, I think, because they're working really quickly, right? I'm not trying to cast aspersions on Marvel letterers for not paying attention to the script, right? It's just like typing a paper for your teacher, right? You proofread it and you realize that you made a mistake and then you fix it, right? So if someone else in the office proofreads this and then, marks it up with blue pencil, right there it is on the side. Judgment, Judgment, right? It was probably spelled with an extra E in the middle and then it got fixed. It's fun to see, having a page with all of its word balloons or with none of its word balloons because maybe they were on a separate plastic layer. That's sort of the most pure experience of the original art. And this is this halfway point where some of the word balloons have fallen off and others haven't. So as an artifact, this is unusual. It's still fun to see those panels 3, 4, 5, and to some extent 6 and 7 as silent because we can appreciate the storytelling differently, right? That you get these, this double take and this sly look on CoverGirl's face, and then Tripwire enters the scene, right? How many Joes get 3 panels where the camera is locked and doesn't move as their introduction to a page or an issue?
Let's see. What have we got coming up next? Whoa,
wow.
Nelly.
Yes,
that's so here it is. It's the centerpiece of the collection. Issue 25 cover.
Mm-hmm.
First Zartan cover.
Second Mike Zeck cover. Second Mike Zeck cover of G.I. Joe. To me, when it came up at Heritage last summer, I was determined to get it. I was happy it went in my budget, which was you could look at the price and it was I couldn't go too much more, but I knew if I didn't get one then, if I didn't get this cover, I would never probably be able to afford a cover like this for, in my lifetime, because just the later issue cover, I think there was one with Tunnel Rat and the Cobra Pogo and Cobra Commander, version 2 was like a $12,000 cover this year. And that's a later issue. I think it was number 57 or something. I can't remember exactly what, but early Zach, if Chuck doesn't have in his collection,
well, that's a lot of it, isn't it?
Yeah. There aren't that many, obviously, and there aren't that many early ones. And I know I don't know the guy personally, but I know him on Comic Art Fans, the guy who owns issue 24, which is the first, Zach cover with Storm Shadow, escaping the headquarters and Cobra Commanders swooping in on the claw. And that's an amazing cover too. And then this is the second one. It's just got everything. You see the action there, it just, all the action just with the machine gun and Zartan. It's got Cobra Commander, Zartan, Airborne, Wild Bill, the water moccasin, the dragonfly. I mean, it has it all. And this is it. It's like, doesn't get better than this for me,
And zooming in here, you can make out all sorts of interesting details as well. It looks like there's white out there on
the hood,
Zartan's cowl and arms, and the beginnings in pencil of writing United States on the back of the
wonder why I didn't leave that on.
Yeah, I don't know. And it is Zipatone on there. A lot of Zipatone.
Oh yeah. Over the bottom of the
and not the dragonfly. Yep.
Oh yeah. And I don't know if I'll zoom in on myself a second actually, but I don't know if this is news to you as well. But the issue 25 wasn't the only place that it saw print.
Oh yeah, Action Force. Yep.
This is Action Force weekly issue 10 as well, which I think was when the first issue I got when I started reading the
Oh, really?
The Marvel reprints of Marvel UK reprints in the pages of Action Force, and it has more painterly color to it. So they've clearly taken a black and white version
Right.
of the image and then recolored it, which is probably it's a bit more subtle. The than the kind of slightly more stark, brighter colors on the GI Joe
That's cool
version. But yeah, so if you've not got that one, got that one, maybe seek it out.
I will. I will have to hunt that one down too.
Hey, Mark, zoom in on Zartan's waist.
Action Force 10.
I'm just. That's right. Yep.
Okay.
I think
Marvel
I might have done. Yep. Zoom in on his waist.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be under. I think that's supposed to be flesh right there, like a midriff. And if you scroll over to the published cover,
he does have that in the figure.
Yeah, and if you scroll over to the published cover, it's like.
Oh yes, it is, isn't it? It's published.
They've published it white all the way down.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I used to hate it when they do stuff like that.
You don't want to
go through every issue of GI Joe and be like, "Color is a mistake," and I'd just be so mad.
Well, what about the cartoons? Like Transformers was notorious for changing the colors, and like in the movie Transformers, the movie, you got different colors of the wrong characters, and you know.
Oh yeah, don't want to get me started.
And the one of the cool things about this cover as well is that it was on a TV advert. So actually, back in the day, millions of GI Joe fans and kids would have seen this being advertised. So I've got it ready to show. So just a bit of fun. Let's have a look at the original advert as it aired.
Awesome.
If anyone can stop Joe, it's Zartan. Evil master of disguise. Changes color before your eyes. Zartan has an evil plan just for G.I. Joe. A real American hero, fighting a fiendish new foe. Your plan is not working, Zartan. Wrong, Commander.
Watch, follow the further adventures of G.I. Joe and Marvel Comics.
There we go. Do you remember seeing that back in the day?
In the comic book?
Not exactly.
Don't recall the commercials for the comic books actually.
I remember seeing some here and there. It was never something like, for me, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. I don't think, because I don't remember seeing them often enough.
Well, it did what Hasbro
they made a big difference,
which was
I was already hooked. I didn't
watch
need
the Toys That Made Us
cartoons,
which is a great series.
Yeah.
They told you why they did it that way. And
yeah,
it worked.
The part that I loved about that episode was when they're all, the exec is like, I don't know, and then they play the theme song, and as soon as he hears the theme song, he's like, oh yeah, this is a winner. We're going with this, and I'm like, it was the song that did it.
Yeah, it did it for a lot of us. That opening is the opening song is one of my favorite musical, pieces of on TV out of all of them, I think.
Very good. And yeah, just curious, your approach when you're coming to a bid to something like this, do you sort of go in early, all in, and then just sort of walk away and go, right, it's in the hands of the gods now?
If I really want to win a piece, I won it at the end in the live, and okay. I put I put my bid in and I waited it out, and I was like, if somebody bids over, I don't know if I can go one more, because after they put the buyer's premium on, I was already over 20 grand, so if a couple bids later, it could be already 30 grand. And that was summer of last year. So it's probably more than that now. It'd probably be over, a $30,000 page now. So, it's just good timing, I guess, when it was put out there. The cover to issue 5 is coming up on Heritage. Okay, wow. The tank and the Cobra.
Tanks for the memories?
Yeah. That covers up in September's Heritage. It'd be interesting to see where it ends. I'll probably be outbid early on when I'll probably throw a $10,000 bid or something, but knowing it's not going to hold up. But
that one,
I'm interested to see where that ends up.
Oh, I meant to do it on me.
Right.
Oh,
yep. That's the cover.
That one. Yeah, an interesting cover because it's sort of not quite so big on a lot of the main characters. So it's it's from the fact that it's number five and it's
an
so
early
early on in
issue,
the run.
top 5
But
issue.
That's the thing, that it's such an early issue.
But it's not kind of flashy in sort of in terms of
It's not that.
spotlighting
It
a
doesn't
real
matter.
big fan favorite
Right.
character.
Who is that cover done by?
Ooh,
You know,
That would have been Trimp, wouldn't it?
is it Trimp?
who does
I don't
that
know if he did the covers too. Did he?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's Trimp, not Trimpy. I always screw up everybody's name.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've heard both.
Yeah, Trimpy, I think, isn't it? I've heard both for sure. Yeah. Who does that look like? I'm not sure. I think
that's who it is. You could look it up on comics.org or something.
yeah, it's quite a sort of muscular style to it. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't like to lay down my entire reputation.
Somebody in
on who did
the
that
watching?
one.
Anyone watching?
Yeah.
Wanna
If
jump on
you're if you're
us.
watching and want to do our research for us,
Help us
you can
out.
tell us. Okay.
I can find it in a second. Cover by
Or we can leave our guests. to do
cover
it.
artist Don Perlin and Mike Esposito.
Okay.
Don Perlin did do like a lot of interiors, like
Yeah.
2 and
Yeah. Cool.
Cover to issue 25. Larry Hama did pencil the sketch for this cover, right? This composition is not a Zek original, but it is so much fun. It's so fast. Some of Zek's covers are all about anatomy and bodies, like that Devil's Due cover with Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. The cover to 53, the cover to 41. Some of his covers are equal parts about characters and vehicles, and there's a softness. I sometimes, when I think of Mike Zek's art, I think of these words are inadequate, but I think of a certain sharpness to his lines and edges, and the inking on Snake Eyes' body, his torso and his legs in that Devil's Due cover is an example of that, right? Just a little bit of feathering, right, from those black lines. Here, Zek is only spotting blacks for shadow, right? Like the inside front on the left side of the water moccasin, that black just behind Cobra Commander, the underside of the Dragonfly. And there's something really animated about this cover. I think a lot of this comes from Hama's composition. I don't know that the fact that this sort of scene gets animated, I don't know how directly that's going to influence Hama's sense of sketching in his layout. I don't know how much that's going to influence Zek in his approach. That an animated commercial is going to somehow make the artwork sort of softer, less sort of detailed, looking less like comics and looking more like animation. And this might not make sense. I might not be communicating this properly, but I look at Zartan's pose, and clearly this is comics art on Bristol. This is drawn in ink. This is not an animation cell. But something about how Zek and Beatty have reduced some of the details. Also, a credit to Hama's composition, in that if you were to hire a bunch of artists if you were to describe this cover for a bunch of people and have them all take turns trying to draw this cover, like, okay, I have 2 Joes in a helicopter and I have 2 Cobras on a Cobra vehicle. The helicopter's firing, and the vehicle is a water vehicle, right? And it's the swamp. I need a little indication of swamp, right? But the only thing missing is like sunset or like storm clouds in the background, right? We're just leaving the sky behind the rotor blade and the logo neutral because it's too busy for anything else up there. But Hama very smartly in his layout turns the water moccasin towards the camera so that it's somewhat foreshortened, but that we still get the sense of its shape and what it does. And there's this very strong overlap. Sorry, that's not the word. Placement of logo, helicopter, water moccasin, water vehicle, right? That sort of all the elements in this are very powerful, and nothing is competing with anything else. Just a really smart composition, and Zach and Beatty just knock this out of the park. What a gorgeous object.
All right, what have we got up next? I'm clicking on the wrong place. It is
Nice.
It's issue 30. It's a classic issue with some great Frank Springer.
Well, the reason why I picked this one is because I love how it looks more cartoony, like the cartoon, like with Duke's face, you know, and at the bottom left and Cobra Commander. To me, it reminds me a lot of the cartoon, and I like Springer. He's one of I love him on Transformers. I love his Joe work, and just the amount of characters he put in. And I try to pull pages from different artists so you can get a look at the differences. And yeah, I'm a big Springer fan. So.
See, I never was a big Springer fan, but I think, again, looking at this in black and white, if I got a chance to look at him again, artistically, I might be more appreciative of it. But as a kid, when he came on the book, I just thought that it was a change from a very neat style to a sloppy kind of style. And I was not a big Springer fan.
Mm-hmm.
There's a slight more sort of like kind of looseness to his style compared to kind of
if you look at like Wiggum,
very tight style. Particularly, I think the fact that he had Wiggum, sort of coming right in on his tail. And for me, he's like the sort of definitive GI Joe artist almost. I think that kind of puts him in a it puts it at a kind of a difficult benchmark to hold himself up against. But sort of. I think for sure he's still a real classic GI Joe.
But I think Springer only did 6 issues.
Yeah, very few.
And as a kid, I thought that it was more. And looking back on it, I thought, Springer had a long run. And then when I get to looking at it, I was like, well, he really only did 6 issues.
Yeah, when you were that age.
Yeah, I guess
when they're coming out, 6 months feels like 2 years. So
yeah, so for half a year or whatever it is, you're like, oh
yeah.
This doesn't look good. But yeah, looking at it now, I mean, and you see so much more of what the artist intended, I feel like.
Yes.
Without the color. And I mean, Tim and I and Mark have talked about this, how things seem to be in more modern comics, overcolored. And I like the simpler color palette, but I think that when they were published, I think just the printing a lot of times would create muddy areas and spots where you really weren't able to appreciate the original artwork as much.
Yeah, some of the crispness of the lines, particularly when it's sort of the meeting the slightly muddy color printing. It's sort of
like just look at the difference in how much you're able to take in, like Duke, for example, in that top panel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much.
When you're just looking at that, you can see the shadows under the buckles on his bandolier. Just nice little details like that. And then the published one, because it's just kind of washed out with one color. I don't know. Yeah, just more and more makes me think I'd love to see a
artist
kind of black and white reprinting of all the original stuff.
Yeah, one from each artist or something would be cool.
The whole run. 1 through 100 anyway.
We couldn't even do one issue.
Yeah. Well, that's we got our silent interlude, our black and white hardcover of that, which was nice.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think it's that when you're looking at the original art, it isn't that you necessarily have to see. It's less about sort of telling the story and trying to read it as a comic, because there's a comic that exists that already for that purpose. It's more about sort of seeing really the whole detail of the original art and how it appeared on the page. And you only need a sampling to kind of to achieve that. You don't need entire issue. So yeah, a few
Yes, I
pages
do.
here and there in much the way that you've assembled, Paul, I think is the perfect way of
I
achieving
want entire issues, Mark.
that. Everything.
What is this
everything. I want it
selective
all.
crap you're talking about? Yeah.
简讯微信。
Handsome looking Duke in panel 4. I know we've got a Duke fan or two out there who watch and listen to the show. I guess I don't have anything to. There's a bunch of whiteout. Okay, there's a bunch of whiteout. 1, 2, 3 on the right side of panel 3, where, and you can see some blue line pencil where a word balloon looked like it was going to cover up Wild Bill. No, not Wild Bill. Who's the second person in the gurney, and was sort of pointing towards Snake Eyes. So either a little bit of dialogue got dropped, or it got moved to the next panel, or it was gonna go there and it got corrected or moved to go on the left side of the panel. I'm interested in that whiteout at the top of panel 3. Also, fun to see someone talking into a radio, and I'm always excited to see word balloons with jagged edges for talking through a speaker.
Okay, here's a big one for me. This is my favorite issue
Yes,
of
it is
the
great.
entire GI Joe run. Issue 31 with
The first time Snake Eyes meets Timber too, I think, right?
Is this the first Spirit?
Oh, I don't think.
hard to remember off the top of my head.
I don't think it's the first Spirit, but it's.
I don't know. Genuinely. I'm
Yeah.
curious.
This was my first Marvel page that I did get on eBay, like first of the Marvel one. And I was bidding on this, and there was another sweet page with Firefly dropping the grenade into the cabin.
Oh yeah, wow.
And
yeah,
it was
yeah.
Timber attacking him, and I really wish I won the Timber page because that's my favorite from it, but I didn't. I won this one. I don't know who won, if Howie won the Timber one, and he ended up selling it later or trading it, but all the pages from this are like darker than the other issues. They're like, I have 2 of them from this, and they're all like kind of like a
Faded.
paper's yellowed,
Like-
like
Mhm,
Yeah.
yellowed. Mhm.
yeah, you don't see it because you must or it must be, you can't tell here really that much, but it is much darker even on my site.
Beep.
Yeah, I wonder whether potentially it was a page that, I mean, I've not seen a whole bunch from this issue, but whether it might have been displayed.
Well, like I said, I have 2 now from this
Mm.
issue, and they're both like dark, like dark
Okay.
yellow. So I think something with the book, where the book was stored, the pages for this book must have
Okay.
been stored in a different environment or something.
Spirit's got some Masters of the Universe gauntlets on there.
He does, doesn't he?
He's a He-Man fan.
Yeah.
Spiritor.
It's the first full appearance
Nice.
of Spirit, Aryan, Knife, and Timber. So he must have
Uh-huh.
a cameo in an issue right before it or something. But it's the first full appearance. Kind of like 25 is the first full appearance as Zartan, even though he's in that last panel on 24. I don't know. For me, first appearance is first appearance. Like you see the guy for the first time. Like Hulk 180. Hulk 180 is the first appearance. I don't care if it's a cameo. It's the first time you see Wolverine in a panel. It's Wolverine. If you don't see the guy and you hear him talking, okay, that's not really an appearance on
Right.
screen. That's just his voice, To me,
Appear.
yeah,
is the
appearance.
key word.
Yes. Full cameo, who cares, So
That's really cool, though.
Yeah, it's great.
I always love the
this-
airdrops.
Yeah. It sort of puts me in mind of issue 21 a little bit with
Yeah.
Snake Eyes sort of jumping out the back of in a similar way. But yeah, it's a great page.
Blast.
Great example from this.
Beepers disappeared.
in Jersey.
What'd you say?
It says in Jersey.
Jersey.
Well, they're out in the mountains somewhere.
Yeah.
Does it say where they're at? Is it like
High
This
Sierras.
is the High Sierras.
Sierra.
That's what they always kind of,
the Sierra?
That's what they would call it. Yeah.
Is that
And
like
yeah, as a
Nevada or
as a
something?
kid, it's like
I don't know. I'm not even sure it's a real place. It could be.
Well, there is
It
a
could
Sierra
be like
sometimes.
benzene or Trucial Bismuth or something like that. I don't know.
Later
Yeah.
over the Sierra.
It rings true, doesn't it? It
It
feels.
sounds true
feels
enough.
right.
Yeah.
It's like it's got to.
I live in Ohio. I don't know.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I'm in Michigan, not too far.
I know that's if the High Sierras is a real place, it's on the other side of the country.
It is. It's on the West Coast somewhere, the West Side.
Nice. Okay. And oh yeah, so this prompted me. This would be
First
in terms of my this is my favorite issue. So I think from if this was in my collection, it would probably be on the wall. But how many of your pages are actually up there on the wall, and how have you decided which ones to go for?
Well, I don't have a lot of wall space in this room because of the shelves and cabinets and that, and I don't really trust it anywhere else in the house with kids. So yeah, my answer is actually 0. And
Wow.
I have all my pages in portfolios.
Okay.
And then all the portfolios are in a large fireproof satchel that is supposed to be for bank money to be transferred on airplanes and to survive crashes. So it's supposed to be fireproof. So it's all in there. Hope to never have to
test that.
Test it exactly. But it's supposed to be fireproof, and that's really the reason I have it. And they're all in there, and I pull them out.
Now you need to find a way to fireproof that wall behind you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do have another safe that has some a little bit of smaller art, and I do have some nice comics. I have like a Hulk 181.96, and I have a 129.96, and I bought those in the early 2000s when they were way cheaper than they are now. So
yeah.
But they weren't cheap back then.
They were. One year I took I had a big bonus at the end of the year, and I spent $5,000 on Hulk 181.96. I go, I'm never gonna be able to buy this again, probably.
Oh my gosh!
Right now, I bought it.
There you go. Bart will help you.
Yeah, Bart's volunteering.
My
that's
friend of the show. Bart will help you.
My firstborn son is named Logan, also after Wolverine.
Oh wow!
So
my son's middle name is Logan,
and so I bought that comic kind of for me to have, and then to hand off to him when he's older to do whatever he wants with it. If he wants to put it down.
I don't have any nice Wolverine comics to get him.
Yeah. I suggested
like a Wolverine number 50 with the die cut cover.
Yeah, give him that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's had a fancy gimmick cover, and all of those have just shot up in value and kept their value.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Paying for our college tuition with those.
Maybe when the kids are moved out, and I can take one of the bedrooms and turn it into an art room. I'll frame a bunch and put them up.
Nice.
But I don't open the window. I have one window in this room, and it's never open, so there's no sun coming in. Affect the toys, and I don't want any yellow.
I want to know if he can be adopted at the age of 46.
Oh man, I don't want any more kids. Especially not in their 40s.
But yeah, it's the dilemma of a collector as well, that you want to display all of this stuff, but then the sun is your enemy, and that's the sun in the sky. Also the children as well. They are generally
the other thing
is just having the real estate, like Paul said. There's you don't have that much shelf or wall space. You don't
want to put it in a basement because it's damper sometimes, even though it's finished, it's still damper. I don't have enough people that come over that would appreciate
want to see it.
Like I had some dads come for a party for my son's baseball team, and I brought them up in here, and they were impressed with it all, and they like the toys. They don't really have any of their own, and they used to have them as a kid, and they were impressed with that all. But and I did show them some of the art, and they thought it was cool, and but not. I don't get like the people that really would appreciate it coming to visit.
Yeah.
Problem is people live everywhere, and so it's eventually, and then with COVID, people aren't going anywhere to visit people's.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Rod Wigham's art is so crisp. It's page 8 of issue 31. Just lovely inking on that mountain in the background of the first panel. Mostly wordless storytelling, right? Just the beep. Really lush inking. As pretty as this is, and I know that a lot of fans for many fans, Rod Wigham's run on GI Joe is sort of a definitive look for GI Joe. That's what GI Joe comics should look like, or so the Rod Wigham, Ron Wagner, like American adventure style of GI Joe. As pretty as this is, right? I look at panel 3 and Spirit's eyes and nose, and all of the care that Wigham is putting into the details on hair, clothing folds, that parachute in the second to last panel. And this is definitely a case where, as an artist continues in their career, they get A, better, and B, they reduce. Rod Wigham's art in the last 10 years, he draws a newspaper comic strip called Gil Thorpe, which is a sports strip, and he did some covers for G.I. Joe 10 years ago, a long time ago. His stuff, he's very slightly cartooning now in his faces. He has reduced. He's taken a lot of detail art, and there is more confidence in his art. So as much as I love his G.I. Joe work from 85 or so, that his stuff has continued to progress. If Wigham magically wanted to go back and draw just like this, I don't think he could. It would be exciting if he, packed in more detail, but he doesn't need to. He can express as much with less. So I love this page. I also love how Wigham's work has progressed over the years.
Okay, what's up next? So we are moving on to issue 36.
Oh, nice.
So
that's one of my favorite issues.
We spoke to Chuck, and he shared the original Michael Golden cover art to this, and so now we're seeing one of
I love that cover
pages
too.
from the interior. It's the last page from the book.
Well, you actually can see, you see the panel there above that last panel. It's in the background is the flag, and then you really see the flag in all its force. Now that's actually it's original art, but it was pasted on top of what was under. I don't know what's under that.
Oh yes, I see. Mm-hmm.
So it was either they didn't like what was done on the page and they redid it and pasted it on. That's all I can think of, or maybe it was designed at the end and they didn't have anything under there. I thought I held it to the light and didn't see anything under there. So, that's cool. Look at it. It's hoisting up the whale, and look how tiny the whale is compared to it. So,
yeah. The only way to know for sure is to pick at it and see.
I'm not gonna do that.
See what it could be.
Don't listen to him.
No. I'm not that OCD. I don't want to ruin it.
You know what's funny is if they did paste that on there because it was an art correction, that doesn't look like the flag. I mean, it looks similar to the flag, but it's not like if somebody like a Robert Atkins or somebody, went to his tank and pulled up an accurate picture, and it's kind of it's more like what they did back then when reference wasn't as plentiful. It's just let's draw a generic aircraft carrier.
It may have been
the panel above.
The toy was developed. It might have been. You'll see that with the Rattler. Those Rattlers that aren't completely the same.
A lot of the toys in the earlier issues, you can go back and look at them and say, well, that's not entirely accurate.
And Breaker doesn't have too much of a beard in the comics, right? I mean, it's more, not as fully developed as it is on the toy.
Yeah.
He has like 5 o'clock shadow in the comic, and he's got a full brown beard on the 82 toy.
Yeah. You have to be a brave bubblegum blower to be doing that with a full beard.
Exactly, right.
Never touched this stuff myself.
So this is a great cutter and got the way.
This is this is
Deep Six there in his non-refrigerator outfit.
No Jobs in there some reason.
Torpedo. Yeah, Snow Job in his snow outfit.
Exactly. It's like, what? It's like Storm Shadow running around with bare sleeves in the snow and the comic or in the cartoon. And
the best one is one of the ones where there was a fight at Fort Knox or something. Torpedo comes into the room and he's got full air breathing apparatus on flippers, everything, in the middle.
Well, there was water in the train station.
Okay.
Yeah, I've put on the screen Rod Wiggum, but I'm now doubting myself. I think that might be Mark Bright, mightn't it?
No, that's too early for Bright.
Let me see. This is issue 36. All ships at sea.
I mean, Torpedo's face looks a little bit like
Yeah,
Bright,
yeah. This was the issue. This was the issue where they'd cut it up and they divided the art between Rod Wiggum, Mark Bright, Larry Hammer.
Okay.
So,
So
Mark
this is Bright. Okay.
Bright.
I didn't think Bright did
Might be
anything
right.
that early.
No, yeah, he just did this as a one-off. So yeah, he did. No, I think you're probably right. I think Rod Wiggum did most of those sequences.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's Rod Wiggum, Mark Bright, Larry Hammer, and Bob Camp.
Is there a name on that page?
So he
Paul?
did.
No, I don't believe there was a name on it.
Yeah. No, actually, yeah. So Mark Bright did a lot of the whale sequences, and looking at how he's drawn Torpedo's face in those, and how he looks there, I think that probably is a Bright.
It could be.
I wonder if somebody else did the flag at the end and sent it.
That last panel
could
looks
be,
like Springer to
could
me.
be.
Maybe
Could be someone else
the last
just
guy,
did
Bob
that.
Camp.
and-
What if Bob Camp did that and sent it to be put on there? I think whoever did the flag at the bottom didn't do the rest of the panels.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. Yeah,
I think that flag looks like Springer. But
he's not.
I didn't hear his name in the credits.
No, yeah, he's not.
Oh,
Maybe it's yeah.
the flag is running high in the water. We can see the red line. Yeah, it's true. It's not. Yeah, it is running high in the water. It's not got much. It's got a lot of the flag above the waterline.
Yeah.
There we
Tide's
go.
out.
It's the tide. The ocean is lower than it would normally be.
Well, but look at the colored page. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you can see the red line there. Yeah.
the red line is that toy accurate that the flag has got a red line?
I
on it?
don't think so.
Doesn't now have a red line on it. Honestly, the first time I got the flag, I was a little disappointed in the bottom being just this frame of rails.
That's what everybody
and a
says.
skirt on the sides.
Yeah.
The top is amazing, and the
The tower.
tower's all right. I mean, it's only half of it, and
Yeah.
just the scope and the length of the landing strip is
Yes,
amazing.
the scale of it is
That
the
it can
thing
hold like all these large
You're paying for the landing strip.
vehicles. You are, or the
That's
box
saying all.
nowadays. The box
Location.
right?
Yeah.
Ooh, a Mark Bright page from issue 36. That face, 1, 2, 3, 4, Cutter's face in panel 4, is a like loud ringing bell for Mark Bright. Mark Bright was one of the first artists in comics whose style I could recognize. I see a lot of Neil Adams and John Byrne in his faces and in his musculature, but I also know that he has other influences. He did a little bit of science fiction painting. He did a book cover or two, and he painted two covers for Marvel, and three covers. Transformers, Super Boxers, and Nick Fury versus Shield for Marvel. But to me, Mark Bright eyes, I can spot them a mile away, and I love them because my first issue of G.I. Joe was drawn by Mark Bright, and it's fun and strange to me that before his run on G.I. Joe, he had a hand in an issue or two when clearly there were some deadline troubles, because issues 35 and 36 are drawn by so many people. Definitely the sign of a book running behind schedule.
Yeah.
I always just wanted to have the General Keelhaul figure. I thought he was a cool looking figure, and I was like, man, I'm never going to get that figure.
They have a
Yeah.
mail away you can buy, just him. So
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I was
Okay,
probably
up
out
next,
of the game.
it's
Nice, from yearbook
Island.
3.
book 3.
Yeah.
That's Wagner.
That's Wagner with
Yep.
Kim DeMulder on inks.
This was my
Like,
first Timber.
something.
So I own Huskies. So I've always had
wow.
Huskies growing up, and Timber, being a wolf, has been like my favorite character in GI Joe forever.
I had a Norwegian Elkhound as a kid because Snake Eyes had Timber.
Yeah. My Huskies looked like. I have a Husky now that's white and gray. It looks like Timber a lot. So.
Damn, look at Intruder arm. She's got an Uzi on her back, a knife on her arm, 2 stars. Looks like a Mac 10 on her hip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's got one on her
She's
back. One
loaded.
And that's a really interesting panel. And if you got it to hand, it'd be interesting to sort of see up close. But because it's a entirely
With
black
white
panel
lines.
with white ink. So I'm guessing that they've used some sort of whiteout to kind of draw that sort of X-ray effect, and it looks like maybe it's raised.
Yeah.
Get the pen.
We don't want
Looks
you to
like
dig the page out, Paul.
It looks like it's kind of on
Unless
a
you've
raised
got it at
layer.
hand.
Like maybe it's could have been done separately and then stuck on.
Okay, here it is.
Did I?
Oh, what was
Oh,
that?
yeah, it is. It's a stat, actually. The entire Intruder armed, this whole thing is a stat. All one piece. Smooth. It's a pasted on.
So I wonder if he made that in some, now it'd be easy enough. And then just print it. And
Everything
paste it
else
on.
is
I always wonder about the production stuff like that.
Everything else is art on the page. There's no no other zip.
Like it could be like he did it as a black line on white paper, and then they used some sort of reproduction to just invert the
Inverted it.
colors and then print it like that.
I don't see anything behind it, but it's dark.
Is it kind of got a glossiness to
Yes,
it? Like
it
was
is.
just a print.
It's glossy. Yep, it's very glossy.
Interesting.
I always like, especially like you look at Howard Chaykin artwork, different production techniques and just tricks like that. That now it's something like that is easy. You could do that in Photoshop in 5 minutes. But back then, to pull off those kind of effects, they really had to put their minds behind.
Yeah, they had to think about
coming up
exactly
with a process. How would they do that?
Yeah,
even like now, traditionally, if I wanted to do that, I could do that with a Jelly Roll white pen. It'd be easy enough. But back then, you couldn't get any of those.
No.
There was no such thing as a white pen, believe me. In 1989.
87.
Well, somebody wants to prove me wrong. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Eternal rivalry between Scarlet and the Baroness.
In my,
or at least there should be. They should
in my
be
pencil box, I've got now. You could do that. This is a Posca white pen, and this is a Uniball Signo white pen. So
Jelly Roll is the one that I
even
use. I forget whether it was J. Scott Campbell or Robert Atkins that turned me onto that brand, but it makes a really nice line.
But wants to know, is the page also scratch and sniff?
It smelled like intelligence, secret intelligence. It was
wet dog, I would say.
Yes,
wet dog.
Cleaning materials because she's dressed as
wolf
housekeeper.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
A page from yearbook 3. Oh, fun little detail that in the very top it's marked GI Joe Annual, which doesn't mean anything because there'd already been 2 GI Joe yearbooks published. I own 2 pages from this story, so it's exciting to see other pages from this story. Wagner at his best. Great storytelling in that second panel, which I'm going to guess was called out for in Larry Hama's plot, that Scarlet in disguise, we see her, and in the same pose and probably lined up, we see the X-ray on the screen. This was actually the first G.I. Joe story I ever read, maybe a year before I sort of bought my real first issue of G.I. Joe, an aforementioned Mark Bright comic. And I think I was confused that this didn't have words. But G.I. Joe fans tend to love their wordless G.I. Joe stories. And, issue 21 gets all the attention, and issue 86 gets a little attention, and then everyone forgets, although I feel like we've done a good job mentioning it a lot recently, that there's a wordless story in G.I. Joe Yearbook 3. What does it say? Typeset. Reverse. Okay. So, you can see a little cut line where in panel 2 where it says intruder armed, and it's all black with white lines. So Wagner, I'm trying to remember who inked this. Danny Belandi? Sorry. I forget. The inker of this fine story just drew black lines on white, and then because of this note, someone in production took a photo of it and inverted it. Right? That's the Photoshop term. I don't know what the photographic term is, but turn the black to white, turn the white to black, and so you get white lines and white letters on black. So you can see that cut all the way around. Just great looking, inking on hair, on metal, on fur, on clothing. Even the fact that the floor and the left wall and the desk in panel 1, right? The wall on the left and it's granite. The wall on the left and the desk is granite, and those little dots, and then the slightly broken line for the Cobra insignia on the floor, right? That's stone or marble, right? And here's my cranky old man comics complaint. They don't make comics like they used to, but I feel like a lot of artists, particularly ones who are either drawing digitally or relying on colorists to do more sort of storytelling. I feel like a lot of artists nowadays in comics wouldn't ink those two surfaces, those two textures, differently from each other and differently from the rest of the story. They just sort of let the colorist comp in some like fake texture for marble, some fake texture for granite. So panel 1 is sort of the least exciting in this page, but it's my favorite.
Yeah, great issue, great page, really good
Yeah,
example from that
both.
issue. Yeah, it's sort of one of those pages where you could read it sort of 30 plus years ago, maybe not even read it again since, and you look at it and it instantly recognizable, brings back all of those nostalgic pangs. Okay, here's an interesting page because of its significance in terms of the story of Snake Eyes.
And also interesting is you said that you basically quit with issue 100, and this is what 144.
I did, but I actually bought this one not too long ago and read it, and because of the origin, and it was awesome. So, especially since I had the page before I read the issue. So
I've never read this.
Oh, really?
Nope,
that's the order to do it. Get the art and then read the issue afterwards.
And the art is awesome. The marks on his clothing, the way they do it. Let me find that.
Yeah, it looks like they've really gone into using some interesting texture techniques actually on this page. So Will Rosado, like Chip Wallace credits.
Q-tip or something.
Let's see if I can dig that one out real quick here. Find it.
So it looks like maybe even some sort of spray, like a black spray canister effect, possibly.
That bottom part's probably done with a toothbrush and masking something to mask it off, but I'm not sure what they did with his stuff on their clothing.
Yeah, it's definitely much different than any other page I have with what they did.
Let me zoom in.
You wanna?
Whoa!
There we go.
Can't really tell.
It's like a rougher.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, well, like
again, and it's something that now
the flex
do
creating
easily.
like a raised.
Yeah,
and the ground is kind of like ground is real like raised and rough.
Huh.
but it's not like pasted on or anything. It's almost like it's whatever effect they use with the ink.
Yeah. My bet, and I'd say 90% certain on this one. It's sort of like a spray paint or something like that they would have used. That they would have masked off the bits that they didn't want to get the paint on, and then sort of had a spray. And then
It is like almost like a brush, though. Like they splat, a toothbrush.
Yeah, or as Jay said, it could have definitely could have been a toothbrush type effect as well. It's hard to get the density from a toothbrush, probably, that the precision and or airbrush as Bart suggests. Yeah,
right.
could easily have been an airbrush instead. Yeah.
So I pulled that one out because of the significance. But
I also wants to know: is he putting out the fire on his face on her boobs? Oh,
he's thinking, if I'm going out,
possibly he's motorboating one more.
I'm going out happy.
I'm going out. This is how I want to go out. But
I knew I liked Snake Eyes for a reason.
Well, what's crazy is he gets his head like blown up in this, and then he gets it down in that one island. He gets in the house fire, and his face is on fire again. It's issue like 12 or 13. I think it's 12. With Quinn, the issue with Quinn. I have that. I have that page in my collection where he's running on fire with his head on fire because the house was on fire. And
see, that's why Snake Eyes works, because he's a tragic hero.
Yes,
he's scarred. He's ugly. He's Quasimodo. He can't talk.
Fire just finds its way to his head every.
Yes, he's a magnet for fire and death and tragedy.
Yeah.
Like when
and he's still one of the good guys.
Yeah, great memories. I'll hold up for expediency. This is what we're talking about from page. Oh, got rid of myself. From issue 12, it's that sequence there.
Yeah, where, I have that page too. So, in fact, I bought that one on eBay. 15 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And
for those people less familiar with this story, it is later on in the run that issue 144. It's essentially a flashback retelling of Snake Eyes being involved in that helicopter explosion, and they expanded out the story beyond the point that they'd kind of revealed before in the origins, just to sort of show that he was on this hostage mission, and after the accident he sort of wrapped up his face, and Charlie mic'd writing CM in the sand and continuing the mission, and
that the guy who was rescuing was his sister's fiance.
Yeah.
And his sister.
I've heard people say that one of the nice things about collecting is everybody's got their own kind of collection, and we all probably have our own personal continuities. For me, this is outside of that personal continuity. I'm kind of with Paul. I think for me, like, what I consider canon really even probably ends shortly after 100. There's a lot of stuff that happens after that I just don't know about. And weird. Like, for me, like in my head canon, that stuff just
right. I don't know.
Firefly connection is negligible.
No characters died. No Joe characters died for me because
Quick Kick's still alive. Doc is still alive.
Exactly.
Breaker's still alive.
Yeah.
Firefly isn't a green ninja guy.
Yeah. Ninja Force doesn't exist.
I sold a page that had them walking through the cemetery in one of the later issues.
Yeah.
Rocker and Rock and Roll, like looking at people's tombstones. And I'm like, I sold to a guy who really wanted that for Memorial Day. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I've never read it. I don't want to know about it. I'll sell it to you. Here you go.
There you go.
Get it out of my collection.
It's just like never this. I was like, I don't feel like Snake Eyes' origin needs any more added to it. We don't need I've never read that declassified miniseries. I didn't feel like it was needed.
Right.
Or that this story was needed.
This story is confusing just because of the way it features like Vipers and things like that. Which
kind of and I didn't understand. Why is there guys in it that are a lot later when this was supposed to happen earlier on? Like there's Vipers and there's Wild Bill and there's Who else is in there?
And just the whole thing with his sister being engaged to this guy, and you never got the impression in 26 that she was that old. You know, I mean, she was like the same age as twin sister, right? Wasn't it supposed to be?
Yeah, twin sister. I was thought she was like this little girl.
So she'd be the same age as Snake Eyes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I suppose she could have been married.
But just like in the comics, my figures end at, I don't have like, started turning neon in 89, 99. I don't have any of those neon figures. I have some of the nice like mail away special ones, like Steel Brigade and Goldhead Steel Brigade and the Ninja Viper. I have those cool ones, but I don't have the version 2, version 3, version 4 of all these where they just made them crazy with all these neon weapons and on the trees. And I just, no, it's not. To me, that's when G.I. Joe got, jumped the shark, and that's, they went out of, they stopped making them in 94 because people weren't, you can still get those mint on card for like $30 because nobody wants. Some people want them, but I don't want them.
And have you been tempted to dip
right there with you, man,
into the later stuff like the 25th anniversary or the
G.I. Joe? No, I only like O-ring. I do not like the non O-ring figures. So
you don't have any of the modern stuff?
Not unless it has an O-ring. I have a lot of. I've been picking up more of the O-ring conventions exclusives, like Big Lob is cool, and the Hot Wire and Tiger Force Beachhead, the Dreadnought Escape package. But those are all O-ring. I just don't. To me, G.I. Joe is O-ring. It's not those other ones. I just don't. I can't get into them. So I'm glad, because that's just more money I'd be spending.
Exactly. Only so much. So much money.
What an important page. Something that G.I. Joe did as a comic, as a Marvel comic in the 1980s, that other Marvel comics of the 1980s did, is origins and stories were at times revisited. So, this is a scene from 26, 27, and it's being told again in 144, and there's a slightly different angle on it, or it's expanded. And, some of this happens because a writer in a comic wants to modernize, it's like, John Byrne is writing and drawing this definitive run on the Fantastic Four in like 83, 84, 85. And is addressing some things that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did with Fantastic Four between issues 1 and 109, in the first like 9 years of that comic, right? And then you have the 70s in between. And this is a thing that happens in comics, that happens in Marvel Comics. Sometimes you do it because it's been 5 or 10 years, and there are newer readers who don't actually know the story. And, in that era, there weren't graphic novel collections of old issues, and there weren't always cheap reprints. You just had to save up your money and buy the original issues, and maybe they were $8 or $15 at your store or mail order or at a convention. So some of this is a writer just retelling some story for the audience. Where it's a little unusual with G.I. Joe is that, of course, Larry Hama was writing the comic at issues 26 and 27, and also again still at 144. This issue really packed a punch when I read it originally. I was so excited that we were getting this Snake Eyes flashback. I liked how crisp and clean the art was after several, there's my cat, after several rough issues with the Transformers crossover. This, you can't beat this big final panel, which is this, it just packs a punch, right? Like, we're so worried about Snake Eyes. We're so relieved that he's saved Scarlet.
Got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to the last one in the selections we've got today. And it's a good one to finish on because it is the last page of the last issue. the grand finale to issue 155, where Larry, had his swan song for the Joes for a good 7 years. Well, 7 years until Frontline, and then years beyond that until we got to 155.5.
Right.
And again, this is one I've never read.
Never read. Wow. It's an interesting.
I've heard it's good.
It's an
interesting issue. Yeah. Because we've got Phil Gozier, who did a lot of those last few issues, and his style is probably a bit of an acquired taste.
It kind of reminds me of he's like trying to be like McFarlane there.
Yeah, that's what I thought this was at first.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he's necessarily such a great fit for G.I. Joe as a whole.
I don't mind it in the later issues like this.
Yeah.
Because I'm not, as a collector, I'm not into them that much. And it's kind of nice to see something different. And as an artist,
Who is that supposed to be?
But I think Larry Hammer's storytelling generally sort of sees through, regardless of, I guess, how you'd feel about the art, that it's strong enough, particularly in this issue. That is Sean Collins' mum in the top left-hand corner. So she's just received a letter from Snake Eyes addressed to her son, Sean Collins.
There are some nice pages of art from the issues 100 to 155. And the art is a lot bigger, too, than the earlier Marvel pages.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's bigger. It's
I wonder why.
They're using different if you look, it's the boards they're using are different.
The brand.
They switched over in the 90s to like these bigger full size pages. It's only, I would say it's only like an inch, maybe an inch taller, 2 inches at the most. But also they're not cut like the 80s issues are. They're trimmed because when they printed them, they stuck them on like whatever, they taped them on boards, and then they
whipped them off. They
use a
Stanley knife or something.
Box cutter, probably. They went they cut them off. So you see most of the pages from the 80s, a lot of them have tops or bottoms trimmed up or corners cut off,
like the one that we looked at, the Spirit page, a few.
And that's common. That is very common. It doesn't depreciate. If it doesn't affect the art, it doesn't have any effect on the price.
Oh, really?
It's one of a kind art, and
it's a shame, but it's not like you can get an alternative.
And the nice part is art isn't graded by the quality of the paper and all this stuff. Obviously, if it's been damaged from
coffee cup,
water, or mold or something,
I've seen a lot of pages with coffee stains and fingerprints and stuff.
But there are people that can restore pages, and restored pages don't really count as restoration in a comic book because they are one of a kind. It doesn't really affect it too much because it's a lot of cleaning, or you're not talking about repairing, over repairing, but you're not taking it's not like they can take a page from an old issue and put it into another issue like in a comic, to fix a action one or it's different with art. Obviously, the quality has to still be there. It has to be the page, but if you took a page that was soiled and got it cleaned, it probably will get what it's supposed to get at auction anyway. So
there's scales and degrees, like sort of.
If it's from a valuable,
if it's for example, if it's like sun damaged, for example, and then someone's got another inker to almost go over the inks and redraw the page effectively, then it kind of starts getting in a bit more of a gray area. But
that's not done. That is people clean it and fix big tears and things like that. Those are the things that are not considered you wouldn't want somebody retracing over a page or something. That's not. There are a lot
down in the corner of that page.
That's signature in the right corner.
We got a signature down here.
That's Scott's signature. Yeah.
That
Koblish. He signed a lot of his pages.
And that's Gozier, you said? Or
Is that Gozier?
I don't know.
Is that it could easily
Might be
be
Oh,
could have
could be. I
easily
think that's
been
Koblish, the anchor.
Okay.
Koblish
yeah
anchor. Yes.
quite often they would between the penciler and the inker they'd split the pages for sale.
Yeah.
So
Lee and
you know,
Williams
so
did that all the
the
time.
penciler would get half, the inker would get half, and then it would typically be the person that sells it that signs
Oh,
it
okay.
when they sell it.
At the cons and
So,
stuff.
so I imagine this was probably sold originally at a con or something by the inker. That's why you've got his signature.
Yep.
Issue 155 was hard. I read the news that summer. I think it was the end of July or early August that G.I. Joe was canceled. And so jump ahead 2.5 months, and I think the issue comes out in October. And it's a good issue, and I was bummed that, you know, some recent and long-standing plot threads weren't going to get wrapped up. But what a powerful final issue. And Paul, what an amazing object to own, right? Via Howie, the final page of the final issue. I have a couple pages from issue 155, which is why I'm not salivating more that you own this one. And I should say I own the sort of what for me is the most important page of 155. Also why I'm not salivating here. You know, Phil Gozier, you know, his art is much more influenced by 1990s artists. You know, the final year of G.I. Joe looks really different. What a contrast, right? In this episode of Talking Joe, to go from, you know, Bob McLeod inking Herb Trimpe, or, you know, others inking Herb Trimpe, to something that looks more like, you know, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, you know, the more aggressive inking. Look at the hair in panel 1, you know, the clouds and the moon and the close-up mountains in panels 2 and 3. And yet, you know, Gozier packs a punch, telling the story really effectively. This really dramatic. I mean, can you imagine ending a series? And, you know, like, what's the final page of G.I. Joe Special Missions, right? It's all the Joes on the deck of the flag, like, you know, standing around for like a photo op for you, the reader, right? And, you know, what's the final page of Transformers from 1991 or so? You know, like Optimus Prime has saved the day, right? What's the final page? What's the final panel of G.I. Joe? A locked gate. You know, just wow.
Yeah, there we go. So thank you very much for taking the time and
thank you guys. This is
letting
fun.
us delve into your
a lot of really neat
collection.
stuff.
Thank you.
And exploring your room as well, because
what's the black jet up there? I keep
That's
looking.
the Night Boomer.
Okay,
Night
that's
Force.
the Black Sky Striker.
Yeah, Night Force Sky Striker.
Man, I hadn't even seen that until a few months ago, and I was just like, "Whoa, what is that?"
That's another thing I wasn't really, that it was out of my range. But going back in, I'm like, oh, I appreciate Night Force. I'm gonna get them all, and not all.
Yeah.
I don't like.
See, I never liked Tiger Force. I never was. I mean, I kind of liked it, but I didn't go for the repaint teams like that when I was a kid, right?
I always thought they were just
going back now and looking at it
as a
kind of
kid.
just, you know, like I saw that plane and was like, oh yes, a Black Sky Striker. That's incredible.
It's the reason I didn't buy Special Missions Brazil when it came out at Toys R Us, because I'm like, I have all these characters.
Yeah.
For the one guy who kind of looks like these other two guys, why am I going to spend $20 on this box?
Wasn't that Captain Claymore?
Claymore,
yeah.
Now,
what have you got? What have you got on the wall? Actually, in the frame,
the artwork framed
up
there.
That's Sergio Aragone's.
Oh, Gru stuff.
Yeah.
The Gru stuff.
Yep.
So interrupting your
Kids
the G.I. Joe stuff
birthday
with
party.
a little bit of deviation. Okay, cool. So we'll wrap up. So if people want to find you and more of your stuff, what's the best place? Is it over on CAF?
Probably on CAF, Comic Art Fans. You can email me through there. So I'm on a lot of the Facebook groups. Era, Everything G.I. Joe, yours now. The Art of Mike Zeck is a nice Facebook group.
Oh.
There's a GI Joe comic collectors group.
There's tons of Joe. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah.
on Facebook.
The Era group is probably the biggest for
Yeah.
80s toys. GI Joe, a Real American Hero Facebook group. I think they have like 20,000 or something members, maybe more. So that's the one I'm on a lot. But CAF is probably comicartfans.com is probably the easiest way to get in touch and take a look at the rest of the art I have on there.
Cool. And there will be a link in comments below to directly find that. Jay, where can people find you?
Break Room Sketches on Facebook.
That's the place. And if people have only just discovered us and want to find us, the place to go is talkingjoe.co.uk. It's got the links to all of the social media and all of the podcasts and videos.
Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Thank you, fans and viewers, for watching. Thank you, Mark, for editing me in. Hello, Jay. I'm sure it was great. And find me at arealamericanbook.com and my comic book store. We're going to reopen in a couple of weeks. Find us at hubcomics.com. When in Somerville, Massachusetts, come to Hub Comics.
So I think that is us done. And when all is said and done, you can catch us down the road.
Thanks, guys. This was a lot of fun.
You screwed it up, Paul.
Oh, sorry.
That's not the catchphrase. You screwed up.
We've been talking Joe, and we're all out of Joes.
We are definitely out of Joes for now, at any rate. So thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jay. Right. And thanks, Bart. Thanks, the Sarge. And see you down the road.